now! It's your boy PSA Sitch here with another Sunday show with everyone's favorite chair enthusiast, Adam Friendit.
What is up, Sitch? I'm so glad to see you. How you been doing all week?
I've been doing good this week. That's
Okay,
right.
cool,
Did you guys
cool.
miss us? Did you guys
Yes.
miss not having us for an entire week?
Nobody even noticed, Sitch. We got like 2 messages. So look, it went. People went unaware. But look, we have a great show. Look, we have a couple of guests here. We have Brianna Wu and we have Dev, short fat otaku. So what's the plan for today, Sitch? Why are these people on?
So we're going to talk about all the drama relating to Gamergate 2.0. Oh my God.
It's blood sports, guys. That's what's going to happen. We're going to relitigate the whole fucking thing.
Yeah, so I thought...
Don't tease me, Dev. I want some blood sports. What are you doing?
So I kind of like know like the periphery of the Sweet Baby Inc. stuff. But so I thought it'd be interesting to have Dev on and kind of walk us through, how that's connected to the original Gamergate and maybe do some stuff about original Gamergate. And it was actually Dev's idea to bring Bree on so that, because, give an alternate perspective, because obviously, you were on the other side of GG. So
that's right.
So,
I was hanging out in Alaska, and then Colonel Campbell brought me in for one last mission. He's like, Brianna, you have to go for Gamergate 2.
That's right. That's right.
To infiltrate outer heaven, i.e. the Sitch and Adam show. So
there you
that's
go.
why I'm here today.
Actually, you can set up my little animated thing. That's why I put it all together. If you want to put it on the screen.
Oh, okay, sure.
I got myself an animated avatar just like
Beg.
Sitch does.
There you go.
We
Yeah,
want
you
you
can
to
put
beg
it, you can
first.
cover up my
Beg.
face, put it right above Brianna.
So basically,
I'm doing a little light graphic design. Why don't you guys get the show started?
Well, listen,
Okay,
I guess the
so
first thing
here,
to talk
I'll tell
about is that I heard Bree on Connor's show last night say Adam and Stitch, and it was very, triggering.
I wrote. Okay, if you could see my screen right now, it says Sitch and Adam.
I
Do
can't
not
believe
mess
it.
up again.
No.
I'm
I
so
can't
sorry.
believe it.
I'm a bad friend. I'm a bad person. I'm so sorry. This is what I will do. You name a charity, and if I F it up, I will donate $100 for that charity.
What is Sargon's charity?
The charity is
Sargon's charity.
The charity is the Sitch and Adam show. Okay.
Oh, that's a good
All
idea.
charitable
Yeah, exactly.
contributions.
That's fair. That's fair.
I mean, here's the thing. I still call this the Adam and Stitch show.
Yes, because you're a terrible person.
Yes.
It's so hard. It's broken in my brain. I'm bad.
This is how
I'm so
we
sorry.
get people
Yes.
to gain free will. We have to break them from the mold.
Listen, it's because of the way that it's laid out linguistically, right? Like Adam is a hard name and Sitch is a soft name, so that's how it flows. Hard than soft. That's why you have like Abba and Preach, right? It's the same kind of thing.
Oh, there you go.
That's why everyone says Adam and Sitch, even the name of the show is Sitch and Adam, because that's just how English works.
Sitch is a soft hands name. Anyway, let's get into this. So what are we going to watch the clip first that's going viral, everyone's talking about? Get Brianna's reaction.
We can if you want. Let's
watch it.
Jump in the middle of the story though, but yeah.
Well, look, what's the backstory on this clip, Dev?
Okay, here. If you want the entire backstory.
No, let's give us the cliff notes.
The entire backstory. We have to go back to 1848 with Karl Marx.
No feudalism.
Back when Karl Marx was attacking the Gamergators, in Germany.
Okay, so here, do you want the TLDR of just the Sweet Baby stuff?
Yes.
Is that what you're looking for? Okay.
Yes.
So, something like 3 months ago, some sleuths on the internet noticed that a whole bunch of, let's say, high-profile flops had contracted a company known as Sweet Baby Inc. to do some writing work for them. Okay. And nobody knew how much work they had done or what kind of work they had done. But that was the name that kept popping up in the credits, right? So they were involved with Spider-Man 2. They were involved with, I think, the Saints Row reboot and Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And there's a few indie games in there as well. But people's like, are these
Weren't
people
they involved
the reason?
with the Suicide Squad game? Isn't that kind of what sparks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone doing digging. Right. Yep. And so they start looking to this Sweet Baby Inc. company. It's a company based in Montreal. It's a writing consultant company. Has an interesting person there for me.
Canadians, you keep bringing this horrible stuff to us. Can you
fuck it all
stop,
up,
please?
dude? You fuck it all up. But no, there's a person I know in there named Felix Kramer, who was part of Gamergate way back in the day. But also there's someone that I had a two ships crossing in the night kind of experience with at a convention back in like 2009.
You had sex with her?
No, not that kind of no.
Well, what the heck? What are you talking about?
That is generally what that means, Dev, when you say
is it? Wait, is that what that means?
Isn't it?
Yes, of course.
No, I thought two ships crossing in the night just means that you just bump into someone and have like one conversation, then never see them again.
Okay, Dad.
I didn't know it was
Okay,
sexual.
sure.
I didn't know it was sexual. Okay, I
Right.
did not have sex with anyone. All right,
Okay.
ever in my entire life. I'm an incel. Okay, so basically, I attended one of her panels like in the late like 2009 2010 somewhere around there, right? And so I already had this kind of idea of what this person was like, and then she was a part of Gamergate. At some point, Maya became Felix because they transitioned, and now they're working for Sweet Baby Inc. But that's my personal connection to the story. But basically, this company has been working on these games, and at some point, a few weeks back now, there's a guy. Isn't it? How do you pronounce his name? Is it Cabruas or something? Yeah, Cabrutus Rambo. All right, he's a guy from Brazil, just like a random dude. I've spoken to him a couple times. He's just like a normie. Right? He doesn't fucking know anything about Gamergate or any sort of internet drama. He's just a normal guy. He made a Steam curation page called the Sweet Baby Inc. Detector. All right. A Steam curation page is basically a user can make a public page with a list of games. They can put whatever games they want on the list for whatever. So like you can be like, these are my favorite games by Sitch. And you have like a list of games that you want your fans to play, something like that, right?
All the dating games, yes.
All the dating sims.
Yes.
So he was inspired by the Denuvo list. So people who didn't want to buy games that use Denuvo, the anti-piracy software that's actually really bad for your computer. There's a list like that. So some fan made a list like that. So he's like, I'm going to do this for Sweet Baby. I'm just going to go to Sweet Baby's website, take all the games that they've worked on, and make a Steam list. And this Steam list goes viral. And that's where the whole shit show starts, right? Because now you have, let's say, progressives who are trying to cancel it. They're mass reporting it. You had people from Sweet Baby, the company, like tweeting about it and say, shut this guy down, fuck this guy. You had, Kotaku's written an article about it at this point. A few other outlets have written articles about it.
Were they articles attacking the
Why
list?
do they want to shut the list down? What's the big deal about the list?
Well, the list is specifically a list of games that Sweet Baby Inc. has.
Yeah, I got that part, but why? Yeah. Why do they want to shut this guy down for copy pasting something off of their website somewhere else? It seems ridiculous.
Well, the fact that it's gone viral and now it has like 250,000 followers or something.
Why did it go viral though? What is the story here?
Well, because people don't like Sweet Baby Inc. Because they think that these are the people that are injecting woke nonsense into AAA games.
There, you're burying the lead, Dev. Get to it. These are a bunch of woke SJWs. They're calling them out for corruption.
I'm not going to be sensationalistic. I'm going to tell you the whole story. Okay, so
we want the sensationalism. What are you talking about?
This is a TLDR. What are you talking about? Dev is like, okay, well, let me tell you my backstory. I had sex with this girl at a conference one time.
I did not. Don't you dare make that the narrative. I swear to fucking God. Anyway, basically, fans are mad. They think that Sweet Baby Inc. is injecting woke nonsense into modern video games. There's probably some truth there. So this list goes viral of all the games that they've worked on. It turns into a big fucking shit show. And you have people attacking them. You have people trying to cancel them. You have fans like messaging Steam, don't take the list down. This is great. And battle lines are very clearly being drawn. The same people from Gamergate.
So people like the list
later.
People like the list because they want to boycott those games. That's what's going on. Okay. Yes. And the people who like Sweet Baby want the list to come down, even though it's already on their website, because they don't want the games to be boycotted. They like this stuff being injected into games.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just let Dev respond, and then I'll let you go, Brianna.
I just have a clarifying question.
Okay.
Well, I have like one sentence left before I'm done. Basically, I think it's because it was made by someone who doesn't like Sweet Baby, and and the people who follow it don't like Sweet Baby. Like if this was a list of like Sweet Baby games and it was made by a person who likes the company and all the followers, people who like the company, it would be left alone, right? Okay. It's the fact that this is a list denigrating their work is why I think it's gone viral.
Okay, go ahead, Brianna.
I mean, if you are in the video game industry, criticism is what you sign up for. So that seems really odd to me. I guess this is what I don't understand. Dev, yeah, just so the audience knows, we're friends. Like I'm asking this in good faith. The part
Sure.
of it,
It's time to
He's
fight.
about to
Let's fucking
stab you
go.
in the
Let's
back.
go.
no. This is nothing like
We're
that. This is
friends,
All
the
the
but
part of
comments have
Dev,
been
it.
like,
you're
Brianna's gonna stab you
obviously an
eventually,
alt-right
Dev.
This
It's
is
not.
the
racist.
part of it. I know y'all want us to fight, but this is a genuine question. So if I like one of the games on this list is Alan Wake 2, which is a very, very, very long game. What I genuinely don't understand is like there's this blanket claim that it's woke, right? That they're making the games woke. But I look at some of the games on the list that I've actually played, and it's really genuinely hard for me to think of any point of that like that Call of Duty moment for Call of Duty Cold War, where it's like, are you male, female, or non-binary? And I'm like, I don't think we were talking about this in the 80s, right? Like I could understand someone finding that to be a little pandering, but I can't think about anything like that from Alan Wake 2. So how did they attribute this quality of wokeness that they perceive? How did they directly attribute that to Sweet Baby? That's the part of it I don't understand.
Okay, so one, I think it's the people who are working at Sweet Baby,
Mm-hmm.
because now that all the digs have happened into those people, we know
Sure.
their Twitters are online and their history, and they seem to be very far left, very progressive people.
Sure.
So that it seems to be the case that it's at least partially the people who are working for them. I can't speak to Alan Wake specifically because I haven't played Alan Wake 2 yet myself.
Oh, it's
Um,
good.
I mean, I liked Alan Wake 1. No one else that I know liked it, but I liked it. I
Mhm.
think it's, I'm just a fan of David Lynch, right? But um, I think when it comes to Alan Wake 2, it's because they're doing the thing where you have Alan Wake, the headline character, and then half the time you play as a black woman, right?
Sure.
Now that in and of itself isn't bad, but we've seen so many examples of that in the past, say, 5 years, where it's just been a shit show. The one that comes off the top of my head right now is the Obi-Wan show, right? Where half the
Right.
show was about Riva and it was a terrible fucking show. So I think what's happening is even if Alan Wake 2 is a good game, I don't know, I haven't played it, people are seeing a pattern here where it's like old property with old beloved characters, but we're going to make you play as someone else that you don't care about for half the game. And people, I think, are just getting tired of that.
Mhm.
I could so look, I think most of us had played Alan Wake. I mean, I thought those parts really worked, especially because the gameplay was so different between those two characters and was such a core part of how that story was told. Let's flip it the other way around. Of all the games on the list that Sweet Baby worked on, what is the best example that you have of like pandering SJW, bad, males are bad, all those kind of stereotypes? What's the best dirt that you've got going in the other
So,
direction?
one of them, I can give you two right off the top of my head.
Sure.
One of them is the Saints Row game. That was just a
Okay.
fucking dumpster fire.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
all like not only was the game's quality bad, just in terms of how it played.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watched the interview that I did with the developer,
I
right?
did. It
One of
was
the
a really
developers, yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
And he was outlining like certain things were happening at the studio and certain things that they took certain things out of the game because of the BLM riots in 2020, the shoehorning in of like cringy millennial humor about student loans and shit. Like that game I think it's pretty obvious. The other one that I can think of is Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and it's because when Assassin's Creed Valhalla was marketed, they were trying to sell the main character of Valhalla as being the same as like a European refugee migrant situation where it's like you have these Vikings who
Ooh.
are coming to the UK back during the Viking days to try and start a new life and they're being resisted. It's like they're fucking Vikings. They're here to like rape and plunder. That's what Vikings did. All right. So it's this recasting of what we know Vikings were in this very refugee positive light in the game. It's very strange.
So I will 100% grant you Saints Row. I myself, I've beaten Saints Row 3 probably 5 or 6 times. I love that game so much. I even like Saints Row 4. I've gotten through about an hour of Saints Row, the reboot, before I had to sit it down. How do you know though? Because these games are so large in scope and they have like internal writing teams. How do you attribute those aspects directly to Sweet Baby? That's the part of this that I don't understand.
I don't.
Okay,
Yeah, that's why even though I've talked a lot about this topic, you won't find me saying that. Some people
sure.
have. Other
Sure.
people have that I've seen, and they say it pretty constantly, but I haven't said that yet.
Okay.
Well, no one
And
knows,
it is
right? Because they just consulted on games. We don't know. No one would be able to determine what exact part of the
They said
game.
they rewrote parts of it. Like she said
Sure.
that in
Mhm.
her interview.
Right. But I'm
So
saying they
yeah.
wouldn't know. I mean, I don't believe anyone would have the information to know like what exact parts and what games that they contributed to specifically.
Yeah. So I mean, if it is the case that it happened the way that it happened with Saints Row, when I talked to that developer, he basically said that it wasn't like management in these companies. They were all, hyper woke and they were all very far left. They just wanted to make money. They were just very, very out of touch. And so someone recommended to them that, hey, being woke is in right now. How about you hire this consulting company and they'll help punch up your script? And the management was like,
That's
will that make us money?
right.
Will that make us money? And they're like, yeah, of course it will. So and that's what happened. And that if what happened with Saints Row is happening everywhere, which it might be, that probably seems like what's going on here. It's not like management is ideologically motivated towards progressivism or something. It's much more likely that they want money, they're out of touch, and they've basically been bamboozled.
Though, if you go on their Wikipedia page, it's funny. They show like the list of games they worked on, and then they say what their role was. And some of them, they say writing, script writing, full development characters. So maybe I could give it a little bit a greater sense. But some of them, their role was sensitivity reading, which I believe because I listened to a woman who was a co-founder of Sweet Baby Inc. That's where they like read over your script and they basically try to say like, well, we think that this thing will like trigger people or is, not woke enough. That was my understanding of what a sensitivity reading was.
Yeah, so what I understand of it is basically like, let's say that you're writing a game and you're writing a black character for your game, and you
Right.
have no one who's black on staff. You're gonna go hire a company like this to get like a black perspective and be like, hey, is this how a black person would react in this situation? Which is kind of racist, but I mean, if you because like I mean, black people aren't somehow
Black
fundamentally
people
different from white
only
people,
react
right?
one way in every situation. So
Yeah.
obviously,
Right. But also, like, if there actually is something about racism in the story, you might want to get that perspective. Like that's fair enough, right? But
Mhm.
that's how they pitch it. But it does seem like it's probably going farther than that.
can we get like a
So
little seal microaggression free is on each package?
so let me give an example. Do y'all remember the Bethesda game that came out? I think it was like 8 years ago. What was it? Pillars of Eternity, and they had a trans character in there, and you're just like talking as trans NPC, and they just start blurting out how they're trans, right? And it's just completely pandering and stupid and bad, and everybody thought so. Trans Twitter thought so. More right-wing Twitter thought so. It
Mhm.
was just poorly done. I think, and I'm not trying to like belittle the concerns here because I think they're fair if, like Cassandra was really that bad, genuinely. But like I'm not like philosophically, I can't object to bringing in people to say, this is how this person might speak here, or this feels authentic. I mean, the video game industry, I know for a fact, contracts military people all the time to get those details right. I know they contract people for major racing franchises that are actual racers, right, to get that right. Or games like the Underground series to kind of get that more urban feeling. It seems to me if you're trying to write certain characters, it can be done well or it can be done badly. I think both of us would agree, but I don't like automatically object to bringing in someone to like give it a pass, right? Or do y'all disagree?
No, I don't disagree. It is one of those things where it's probably a useful tool in an appropriate situation. It just seems
Yeah,
like it's being used excessively inappropriately and has been for a while.
sure.
So, Sodos wanted me to bring up, and I was going to bring it up. You left out a very important part of the story, Dev. How dare you? When you
What did I
talked
leave
about
out?
it. So this was my understanding was that the way that the whole the Sweet Baby Inc. stuff kind of exploded in the first place was entire, and part of why people were calling it Gamergate 2.0 was that it was a Streisand effect. That essentially the person made this list where they were saying like, oh, these are the Sweet Baby games, don't buy them. And then someone who worked at Sweet Baby Inc. like called like a lot of attention to it on Twitter and said like, hey, we should get this, list taken down and we should get the person who made this list, we should get their Steam account like canceled,
Oh,
essentially. And that
oh.
is like the fact that they brought all that like negative attention to the list is what got everyone talking about it in the first place. Like no one would have noticed this otherwise, probably.
So there, like, if you hung out and let's say like, you know, the nerdrotic side of the internet, there's definitely been people making videos about Sweet Baby Inc. for like 3 months now. This is not a new topic to those people. But yeah, the reason that it showed up among, your average Twitter user is because a person employed with them named Chris Kindred started a thread trying to basically a call to action saying, let's destroy this guy, let's take his list down, and also let's get his Steam account banned. And that's what makes
cancel culture.
Here, I wonder if I can find it for you. Give me 30 seconds. I'll find it.
Okay, well, I just want to say on record, I disavow that. I think if you're a video game producer, criticism of your work is completely legitimate. And, it's not like we have not, on the left have not, said things like, oh, this person has said this problematic thing. J.K. Rowling with Harry Potter. It's not like we didn't say, like, she said some problematic things. I think you should know about this before buying this game. I mean, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So I don't know. I think that it frankly strikes me as unprofessional if that's true.
Brianna, is it fair to call you red pilled now?
No. No. Do I come off as red pill? No.
A little bit. I mean, I see your Twitter and like you're basically going after all these far left activists.
I'm really
and stuff.
pissed off at the far left. I'm really angry at them.
Look, well, I mean, how far can you go before people start? I'm sure people on the left are calling you red pilled.
They can
calling
say
you a Nazi.
Say. Yeah, I can call you Nazi today.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah,
they're calling you a Nazi for the same reason that they called me a Nazi in 2014.
Right.
Because I have the same criticisms. I'm not against normal like Democrat positions, but I don't like the far left at all. I think they're probably one of the worst things to ever happen to our fucking civilization is the far left.
Yeah, they are out today. They just finally opened a Holocaust museum in Amsterdam, and you've got a bunch of these nut jobs are out there standing on cars and screaming. It's like, can you just show like the littlest bit of adult judgment here? Just this much. It's insane. And no, I don't support that. I think I don't think it's helpful for anything. But that doesn't make me not a leftist, or at least not progressive.
Well, leftist usually means communist. And I don't think
I'm not
like you're a capitalist. No. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm a Democrat that wants universal health care. I mean, Dev, right. I think you want universal health care if I'm correct.
Well, I've already got it. But it's going kind of bad in Canada, but I've already got it.
Sure.
So Sitch, I sent you in the Discord.
Are we gonna watch the clip that we were gonna do?
Hold on.
Let's do it.
We should look at these two screen caps before we watch the clip because
I sent you Dr. Diller sent me the screenshot that you're looking for, Dev, but like is one screenshot, and I sent it to him.
Okay, yeah.
If you want to bring
if it's the same thing, it's the same thing. Yeah.
Okay, good. I'll bring him up.
So, okay. So obviously no one here supports, like if someone wants to start a campaign and they want to say, hey, I don't think you should buy, games that are associated with this company because I believe this company has political leanings that I disagree with. I mean, as you said, Brie, that's kind of, that's what the left has been doing for a very long time now. It seems like, with the J.K. Rowling and everything stuff. So it should be totally fine for someone who's more right-leaning or centrist-leaning to do this activity.
Yeah.
And this person that works at the company tries to get them banned. This draws a lot of negative attention. The story blows up, kind of goes a little bit more mainstream. And now, interestingly, we do see, as you were talking about, Dev, there are Kotaku and other gaming journalist outlets that seem to be defending Sweet Baby Inc., which is weird, right? Like no one, like this, it definitely seems to be that this is really another culture war issue that, like, because Sweet Baby Inc. is perceived as being left-wing by their own words, that's why the video game journalist outlets are defending them. Like they wouldn't be defending, they were not defending J.K. Rowling.
Well, it's also because they're friends with these people, right?
Right.
I literally said it's the same people, right? So like Nathan Grayson was a core part of the original Gamergate. He's come out and talked about this and he's published an article. All right. It's the same fucking people. It's the same people as 10 years ago. They've stuck around for 10 years doing all this shit. So like it feels like Gamergate too, because the energy in the community is the same as it was 10 years ago. Right. Everyone's digging up information. Everyone's looking into people's pasts. Everyone's looking at connections, on the people on the side of the conversation where people are actually interested in the issue and not simply just there to troll or shit post, it feels the same. It feels the same as it did 10 years ago.
Well, so here's the tweet. This is from Chris Kindred. It says, the Steam creator harassment group Sweet Baby Inc. Detected is led by this person. And they give the person's Twitter handle. Here's them trying to be slick so they don't get reported, even with the discriminatory language filed off. The group itself still fails the code of conduct. So I guess they're assuming that the person is a bigot or something, even though there wasn't any bigotry language in the Steam group. And it says, anyway, report the fuck out of this group. And then under that says, and report the creator since he loves his account so much. So they're saying, like, look how much time and games he has on Steam. Try to get him banned from Steam. Right. So not good. Not good.
And then this person got, well, the thing is progressives they just aren't as institutionally powerful as they were 10 years ago. Yeah. So this guy got like completely fucking destroyed on the internet. The same usual suspects are kind of coming to help out, but like this is not, if this really was Gamergate 2, it is not going well for the anti Gamergate crowd this time, because people have had 10 years to be angry about this shit, and they have way less people on their side this time around.
Well, and also this Chris person, who I guess just likes to step on the rake again and again, I believe they got temporarily banned from Twitter for this because it was accused of, trying to do a pylon or something. And when they came back to Twitter, one of their first posts was about, if you guys don't know this, recently, Akira Toriyama, the legend who is the creator of Dragon Ball Z and other things, died very recently and kind of unexpectedly. And as soon as this person came back on Twitter, they basically tweeted an insult towards Akira Toriyama, saying that Toriyama gave us the best and worst black characters in anime in the same series. It took range to do that. So,
yeah,
kind of a master of very bad takes.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that right now.
Right. So
I've never been a big fan of his woman characters, so I wouldn't say that like right after he died.
Right after his woman died. So there you go.
So yeah, there's this person, and then also the thread from Felix Kramer was the second part of why this went viral, because they also hopped on board and they have a full Gamergate history that I did an expose on this person 10 years ago, right? And the shit they were getting up to then, and it's the same shit as they're doing now.
And is Felix Kramer associated with Sweet Baby, or they like, what was their?
They work for Sweet Baby. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So no one's really. Yeah.
Okay. So here, I will actually TLDR it for you, okay? Since we don't want to rehash 10-year-old drama constantly. I've already done it like twice this past week. Felix Kramer, 10 years ago, was Maya Kramer, was one of the people who had sex with Zoe Quinn behind Aaron's back, worked for
Is this alleged or confirmed?
Confirmed by Aaron, but it was just his word.
Okay.
She worked for another consulting company just like this called Silver String Media, but they only worked on indie games. So same job, just smaller scale. And she did consulting for Zoe. She did consulting for all the articles reporting about Zoe during Gamergate. And also the games that she worked on through Silver String Media were winning awards at the Indie Game Fest while she was having sex with the person at the head of the Indie Game Fest. And that was a big deal during Gamergate. That was one of the videos that I published.
Interesting.
I lay it all out in the video, but that's the TLDR for, because it's 10-year-old drama. Like, it's whatever, but still.
Sure. So I guess, so do you have a take on any of this, Brie, like the Sweet Baby stuff, or even the older stuff that Dev is talking about?
Well, look, it's really hard because I don't want to drive more harassment towards Felix, but I would say I'm not surprised he is kind of in the middle of the same kind of scandal. I think that's what I would say.
What does that mean? Some tea? It sounds like some.
I can be less professional if you want.
Sure, please go ahead, Dev. You do your thing.
The one time that I crossed paths with this person, they were very, very cliquey. It was very much like indie game development is our scene and you're not in it, And if you weren't, if you didn't have the right friends, they would just look right down their nose at you.
Yeah.
And that's the experience I had with them when I met them the one time.
So let's jump back a little bit to what you were talking about, Dev, about progressives having less political power today. Because I do think
On
this
the
is
internet, I mean,
linked.
yeah.
Well, I think overall, I think you can look at what's happening after October 7th, even in the real world, with actual Congress people. I think there's some people, they're progressive in Congress, that are going to lose their elections by large margins this time around. So, but I would say, give me just a minute to say this right. There is It is true that if you want to work at IGN or Polygon or one of the major game studios, statistically, you have less of a chance of making it into a paid position doing that than making the NFL draft, right? There are just very few positions to do this. There are a lot of people that want to do it. And as a result of that, it is a very cliquey, insulated group of people. And I think what you described with Felix and your experience with him, that is certainly a trend I've seen with a lot of indie game developers. And I think one of the things that has happened is I look around at some of the people I knew 10 years ago, and it's really surprising to me how little growth they've had, right? Or their ability to like see things at like a deeper level and comment on it publicly. I think a lot of what some of the people they're upset about right now are talking about, I think there's a kernel of truth in it, because I do think at a certain level, games press does have contempt for the gaming audience. And I think at a certain level, the indie game people can be extremely cliquish and hostile to people. So I think that's what some people are responding to.
Yeah, it sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, hey, should we watch this clip?
Yeah, let's
Is it
watch
time?
it.
Sure.
That was
So,
that was a TLDR, the 45-minute
well,
TLDR.
I'll give you the context of this clip. Okay. So
No,
this is from.
please stop. Let's just watch
Don't worry,
the
it'll be
clip.
fine. It's from GDC 2019. This is the co-founder of Sweet Baby Inc. Okay.
Yes. This was like a little clip from a talk they gave that went viral. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Ready to
you have
go?
it on? Yeah, are you
Let's
ready,
do it.
Bree? Okay.
I'm looking.
And if you have a team lead, put that request to them very, very early. If you're a creative working in AAA, which I did for many, many years, put this stuff up to your higher ups. And if they don't see the value in what you're asking for when you ask for consultants, when you ask for research, go have a coffee with your marketing team and just terrify them with the possibility of what's going to happen if they don't give you what you want. Because they have to consider, like, I say that out as a joke, but it's actually very, very true, because if you start to consider the people who are player and audience facing and who have to deal with mitigating harm and with keeping the sentiment around their game and their project positive, there's like a genuine value that you can impress upon them with both ethically and financially. You can say this is important. And it's also a valid discussion to have, because if you're working with a very thin narrative budget and you work in AAA, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised or dismayed by the amount of money that marketing can give you.
That's where we go there. Yeah.
Right. So what she's saying is that, she's saying if you work at a game company and they don't want to give you money to hire someone like Sweet Baby Inc. to sort of look over your stuff to make sure it's not offensive or make sure it has the correct, woke politics injected into it or whatever you want to call it, to kind of, make this sort of thread about how, I don't know, the game's not going to do well, people are going to be mad or whatever it is. So a lot of people very much did not like that she was saying this, which I understand.
Yeah. So the clipped version that went viral on Twitter just sounded like she was threatening. She's like, "Listen, you should go if you're someone who's progressive working in a big studio, go and threaten your company if they won't hire us." And that's how the clip version sounded. And to be honest, the full version sounds a little bit better, but not much, to be honest.
Sure.
Because it still kind of sounds like she's saying, "Hey, there's going to be a viral shit show surrounding your game if you don't get the progressive conversation correct. So you should hire us and go tell people at the company that they should put some money towards us." And it seems very self-serving because look at her company, right?
Mm-hmm. Of course.
It is. This is the best good faith argument I can give the other side, though, because, I did watch the whole 2 hour video you did with Sidewinders, right? And I'm not saying you did this, but some of the people that
Side
were on the show,
scrollers. Sidewinders was that.
side
Yes,
scrollers.
Sidewinders was that one controller made by Logitech back in the 2000s.
Apologies. Yes, I'm thinking about missile technology. No, but there was very much an undercurrent of they just don't respect us enough as gamers. They hate us. They have contempt for us. There's very much that undercurrent. And if they don't respect us, we are going to let them know about that. I guess I don't understand why her saying that gamers could watch this, they feel that their identity is not respected, and they could have some aggressive feedback that could hurt your game. I don't understand how that's any different than what they were saying with side scrollers, which is, if you don't respect us, we're going to make your lives hell. Like it just seems like two competing groups of different visions trying to advocate for what they want.
I'm not sure anyone on Side Scrollers said that. They just said we're not going to buy your games, right?
Right. Right.
Like I don't think anyone on Side Scrollers. I mean, I'm pretty sure I can speak for Craig when I'm going to say he's not pro harassing people or anything like that.
Oh gosh, no, no. I'm not saying pro harassment. I'm saying, don't you think there's a contingent out there that wants a certain kind of representation the other way, like from the conservative camp, right? And they're going to get upset if they don't get it. So to me, it just seems like different groups here advocating.
I think I can represent this in memes, right?
Sure.
Because 15 years ago, the meme that you saw posted on 4chan's V board all the time was that every game had a white male protagonist with a shaved head, right? And now every game has a black woman with like half of her head shaved. You know what I mean? and that's the meme.
See,
and
1, 2.
Yeah, there's so many of them. Right?
Yeah.
And so I mean, very clearly there's space in the gaming industry for both of these things.
Sure.
Right? I think I brought up two examples. I think it was actually on Side Scrollers. One of them was the tabletop game Thirsty Sword Lesbians. The other one was the TV show High Guardian Spice. Both of these were awful, and they were very progressive, just very bad products, and they're very clearly pushing a progressive message. But because they didn't come in and take over a different property, they simply made their own. Yeah, like I'm like there were like nerdrotic types who made fun of them. It's like, well, whatever. But most people just left them alone, right? I think the issue is that it's not just that they're making progressive stuff with representation, it's that they're coming into pre-established properties that people already love and already have this connection to and that they've grown up with and they feel very strongly about. And they're saying, by the way, we're changing all of it now. Now it's about this character you don't like and you don't care about. And we're also going to put politics in it. And now you have to watch it and be a fan of it like you were the fan of the old stuff, or else you're a bigot. I think that's what's happening, really. If progressives just made all their own shit and just marketed to their own crowd, I think it would be fine.
Well, I think that's like a big part of it, Dev, and I think there's another big part of it, which is like, yeah, you can look at it like there's two different interest groups, there's two different groups of people they want what they want. They have different ideas about how something should look. But the question is, what is it like? What is their idea of what things should look like? And the problem is, like from the leftist perspective or the sweet baby perspective, the woke perspective, whatever word we want to use to describe this, it's not just like even replacing a character with someone who's a woman or someone who's a minority or something. It's also, it seems like either for some reason that they have to inject politics that's also related to that, or they just really suck at writing. So it all seems to be kind of tied together. Because when you have sort of a quote race swap, like I even did a whole video about this, which was Into the Spider-Verse was basically universally loved by everyone, even a lot of people that'd be considered anti-woke. And there was some, but there wasn't really a lot of complaints about people going, oh, Into Spider-Verse, they replaced Peter Parker with like a black, kid. Oh my God, how could they do this? Everyone liked it because it was just very well written. And it didn't feel political, and it felt kind of more in line with, classic 90s liberalism. Like the fact that Miles was black didn't really have much to do, there's only a subtle scene that has really anything to do with that. It doesn't really have anything to do with the story. There wasn't really like woke leftist politics injected into the Spider-Verse whatsoever. So it seems to me like that's like another big part of all this is the injection of the leftist politics into stuff.
What's really interesting is you can now compare that to Spider-Man 2, because it
Yes.
still has a Black Spider-Man. You have Miles Morales, and
Right.
it's been received the complete other way because that game took a lot of effort just come out and say, no, this is the Spider-Man now. Peter Parker is no longer Spider-Man. It's Miles Morales. He's the main character. He's the guy. And it's like people are like, what the fuck? Like this is what we signed up for. Like we want to see Peter Parker. You know what I mean? It's the
Right.
fact that it's like it's a form of narrative replacism almost, where they're not
Yeah.
simply just coexisting with other characters. They're replacing the character that you actually like.
Sure. And I think it's another.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Well,
Go
you
ahead.
go, Brie.
No, I was just gonna say, I really think that's true. This is, and just stay with me on this metaphor here, but there's a quality of the left that, for me as a political professional, I've run into a lot, where the left enjoys making the most extreme thing possible, the most extreme statement possible, and daring you to disagree with it, even when it's poorly framed. I'll give you an example. Defund the police is a really good example of it. It tests extremely poorly. It's an election losing machine. And, if you're saying this on Twitter, there's a certain aspect to the left that's just like daring you to disagree. Or even today, where they're showing up the Free Palestine people and protesting at a Holocaust museum. There's an aspect of that that's like, how dare you even bring this up, because what we're doing is so noble. How don't you dare like call us on that. What I've seen creatively sometimes behind the scenes, and I, to be clear, I used to be guilty of this before. I have more experience to kind of give me a wider perspective. It's like the first things you're trying to make a political point. The story itself is the politics. And I've come to the conclusion that very rarely actually makes good entertainment, which is why I think progressive narratives and games did not succeed in the marketplace ultimately. So, there was when Bob Iger came back to Disney a few months ago. He got asked about some of the overt politics that Disney movies had been putting into, their recent films. And he gave a really reasonable answer. He's like, look, everybody's got to come see our movies. I want everyone to feel comfortable, right? And that's going to mean we're not going to shy away from some messages, but we've got to do it in a way that doesn't, overshadow the story itself. I think that's exactly the right way to do it.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. I think I agree with everything you're saying because it, I think it's a
Here,
combination of the desire to have to push a political message into something where maybe a political message doesn't need to exist,
Yeah.
or when even if you look at the like first gen Marvel movies, there are political messages there, but they're very you know, broad, all encompassing, like liberalism is good, freedom is good, nothing that most people, except the most extreme people, are going to get mad at. Where the more hyper progressive message is far more incendiary to half the country, 70% of the country than these other messages. And then I think also baked into it, which I don't even know if it's progressive, I think I would just call it leftist. I think a lot of the sort of leftist ideology, I just don't think can actually construct very good storytelling at all, because it seems like there is some idea that's anti like the hero's journey. And I don't know if that's just because, an old white man wrote down the concept of the hero's journey or
well,
something.
I think
People
what it
like get
is in that
defined
case,
against it. But
I think in that case, it's because the hero's journey requires the hero to fail for a while, and you can't have a girl boss fail in
yeah, yeah,
2024.
I think that's another aspect of it too. Because it's weird, like, you look at like the original Captain Marvel and even, the new Star Wars movies and things of that nature. It's like, when you looked at older movies that featured female protagonists, Kill Bill is one of my favorite, the Alien movies, things of that nature, the first Terminators. It's like, yeah, they had a female protagonist, but she kind of went through the same arc that you'd expect any male protagonist to go through. And it feels like now with the modern female protagonist, they're not allowed to do that for whatever reason, which does
Can
seem
you
to
give an
be
example of that?
Oh, Ray from
doesn't.
Star Wars.
Well, yeah,
Ray
Ray
from
from
Star
Star
Wars
Wars,
is
Captain
100%.
Marvel, those are the two
Yeah,
things.
Captain Marvel. Yep, those are the big ones.
Because it seems like now
The
I don't. It's
the the,
interesting.
the, the
I think it's
Ghostbusters from the Ghostbusters 2016 movie.
that's another
Like,
good example.
yeah,
I
fuck.
think I think it's interesting with the Disney stuff. It's like this weird conflation of the ideology for the reason that you were saying, Dev, but also maybe because they're all trying to make another Elsa character. It was the same thing in the remake of Mulan, which is really weird because like in the original Mulan, obviously it's about her struggling to, be in the army and then succeeding eventually. And this one, it's all about like she has to find, you just have to let go, girls. You have to like let go your inner emotions. And that was kind of like so it all seems like it's trying to do this Elsa thing again. So it's very strange. I think that is also what's hurting this the leftist kind of narrative and
So
storytelling.
I linked an image and it just says all games are political, says the extremely smart individual who can't tell the difference between Metal Gear Solid, BioShock, and this picture. And the picture is like Trump on Family Guy. That's a meme that's been around for a long time. And that's basically what's going on, right? The excuse that I see from a lot of left-leaning people about putting this stuff in games is like, well, everything's political. Art is political. It has a message, all right? And it's like, well, yeah, but you're not having a political discussion. You're just preaching with your art.
Well,
That's what's happening here.
Is
there,
Step Brothers a political movie? I'm not sure it is. I'm really
there's
not
Everything
sure
is
about
political,
that.
Adam. Everything's
Come on,
political.
really? The other guys. Well, I guess the other guys is a little political, actually.
there's something about this concept when people generally like on the far left talk about everything is political and always has been. There's something that's missing there. And I understand why it's missing because it'd be hard to articulate, which is that when people are in a more stable environment or things seem to be more like comfortable, or at least everyone has kind of a joint sense of community, it's easier for people to make critiques or criticize things without feeling like they're personally under attack. So an example of this is, one of the most famous games of all time, Final Fantasy VII, has a lot of like anti-capitalist, like very, very pro-environmentalist messages. I mean, the heroes of the game are literally terrorists who are blowing up, energy reactors for environmental causes. And if Final Fantasy VII came out today, everyone would say, "Oh my God, it's super woke." But no one really thought that back then because there wasn't this sense, this feeling that, oh my God, there's all this like hyper leftist stuff that's attacking me as an individual, attacking our country, and demanding that we all adhere to some set of values. And because that environment didn't exist, it's like, oh, it's more okay. And people even love for you to have artwork, media, games that explore these narratives and have these political concepts.
I hear you. I do remember thinking like it really like Final Fantasy VII poured out pretty thick back in the day. But I think you're close to it. I don't think it's quite it. I think the difference is almost if you're writing and creating things defensively. And let me give you a really specific example. Did anyone else here play Boyfriend Dungeon? Do you know this game?
Nope.
No.
Sorry.
Okay, so it's a roguelike indie
I was
game.
joking about playing the dating sim.
Okay, fair enough. It's a roguelike. There's a dating sim element to it. So you boot this game up, and just to be clear, please be nice to this woman. She's always been lovely to me on Twitter. I'm happy she got her game developed and was on Game Pass. I wish her all the success in the world. I'm telling you how I interpreted her work of art. So you boot it up and it goes, "Hey, just letting you know, this game has some themes with abuse. Is it okay if we show that to you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." "Hey, how do you identify? Are you a man? Are you a woman? Are you non-binary?" I'm like, "Okay, woman, click, click, click." "Oh, hey, are you aromantic? Do you want to get these romance scenes in this game about romance? Is that going to trigger you? Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine. I'm here for the porn. Let's go." And you play it. It's a great game. But then after all of this, like, so the first thing is, as I was playing it, because it was written from this like position of, I think it's fair to say fear. Like you don't want to upset the audience. Like every single character in that game is like it was designed by the leftist high committee to make sure it's perfectly, you've got different body sizes, different races, it felt extremely checklisty, right? And then as soon as she did all of that, I forget what the scandal was. It was like there was some theme of abuse or not asking for consent about something, or your mom insulting you or being harsh to you that upset some people on Twitter. And she ended up like in this apology arc for a way. So you take that and you compare it with what I consider to be the greatest work of art to come out in my lifetime, which is the Expanse novels. And this is written by James S.A. Corey, a team of two writers, Daniel Abraham and Ty. And they are ultra libs, right? And they're writing stories about life and death, and it is a metaphor for the Palestinians and Israel and war and peace and colonialism. And it is just fantastic. It's got that leftist message, but you're not sitting there with like the impression that James S.A. Corey is trying to appeal to an audience. He has something to say about the cycle of violence and our willingness to destroy each other and throw our ideals out the window. And that's why it's so powerful. So I think if someone is telling a story and it feels very genuine, I think that's art. I think people have a right to tell those stories, and you as a consumer can make a choice not to buy it. Where the reason I think progressives have largely failed in the gaming marketplace is because we're not telling stories that feel genuine to people.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And it's interesting because I was actually, just talking arguing with some idiot on Twitter today about BioShock Infinite, which is also about the cycle of violence and how if that game came out recently, in a post-Floyd environment, you have a game where basically the first half of it you're killing and fighting, white supremacists who have basically enslaved black population, not enslaved, but subjugated a black population. And then in the second half of the game, the black population like becomes part of a violent revolutionary communist group, which you have to fight against and kill, essentially. And the whole thing is kind of about this cycle of continual violence as opposed to, trying to find a way productive forward. And I'm just trying to imagine if this game came out today or in the last couple of years, especially like around the BLM times, people would have just lost their mind about how disgusting it was to look into those ideas, to look into those philosophical ideas. And even with Final Fantasy VII, I should add to that is that a lot of these games, and I mean, I haven't read the Expanse, but I'm guessing like a lot of these very famous works of fiction that have politics and philosophy in them, generally the ones that are kind of very popular nowadays or still popular, they were usually advocating for something that would align with like a broad liberal, and I mean liberal like liberalism consensus of like what is just and what is morally right, where a lot of this sort of more hyper progressive stuff today is significantly more divisive than any of those philosophical concepts that we think of.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I do want to say Ken Levine took plenty of S for BioShock Infinite back in the day. He followed me on Twitter recently. I was like, oh, I guess he's forgiven me for all that mean stuff I said.
Oh no, did you say mean stuff about him?
I did.
No, why?
Destiny was talking about this the other day. And
yes.
Dev, you had noted on Side Scrollers how I had changed. And Destiny said something the other day that I thought really spoke to what happened to me. And it's like we get really deep into an ideology, you're expected to take on all these constellation beliefs. So you're part of the in-group. And maybe you join because you really, really agree on this one thing. But then to be in the group, you've got to agree on all these things all around it, right? And you may not even check to see if it's true. That very much happened to me. And I think it's a very radicalizing force on both sides.
Yeah, I mean, that's the nature and the danger of tribalism is it sucks you into that exact process. Like, oh, yeah. You support, like, that's how it all works. You believe in this one thing. So you have all these other people that believe in that one thing, but they're like, hey, if you want to be part of us, here's like the checklist of all the other things you have to support. And it's like very easy to just like, I don't think for most people, it's like a conscious process. It's like, oh, well, I'm going to sell out to like believe it's like, oh, well, these are good people. So they're probably right about all this other stuff. And then, you get sucked in.
Dev, you should do a video about that called the Purity Spiral. I think that would be very good.
I think I've already done 2 of those, actually.
They're both great. I love them. Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
So how did you?
But yeah, well, I guess real quick, like, no offense, I do recall, like, I think back to how you were in 2014, and I didn't like you at all, right?
Yeah, I'm sure I didn't like you either.
It was one of those situations like, oh Jesus. But okay, when I was on, so for those of you who don't know, since it's been brought up twice, I'll quickly explain it. I was on Side Scrollers, that Stuttering Craig's podcast. He brought it back from the 2000s, the Screw Attack guy, and he was not around during Gamergate. So he was like, "Fill me in." I'm like, "Okay." Took me 2 hours to give him like a high view of what Gamergate was, because there's a lot to it. And I made it very clear, like, this is from the pro Gamergate point of view. So you probably want to get the same kind of rundown from someone who is anti Gamergate as well. But this is how it was from my side. This is what dig operations we did. This is the people we were looking at. This is why we looked at them. And when it came to the harassment part of the conversation, I know that you watched it, Brianna. I
Mhm.
got pushback for saying that there was even any harassment at all.
Yeah.
But there was. I mean,
Yeah.
it's there's always harassment on the internet, all right? And to be clear, like there's two things when we say harassment, right? There's quote unquote harassment, which is criticism or mean words or being called names, right? And there's definitely people in Gamergate who got harassed, and that's all it was, right? And then there's real harassment, and the real harassment is being doxxed. It's death threats. It's things like that, and those happen too, right? It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows during Gamergate. You know what I mean? There were
Yeah.
people out there who were actually interested in the real issues, and all of us, by the way, we said don't harass people constantly. Like I said it at the start of every video that I did. Sargon said it on his videos, right? Mundane Matt said it on his videos. I think the only person who didn't say it was the Internet Aristocrat, 'cause he didn't care. He just didn't give a shit, right? But everyone that I know who was pro Gamergate said don't harass people, and yet it still happened because you got harassed, Brianna.
Yeah.
So it's I don't like the fact that the mainstream narrative of Gamergate is all harassment, because that's frankly bullshit. But to say that it didn't exist is also pretty bullshit.
Well, I think, and the generous thing I would say here, not even generous, but just flat out accurate, is, you in the second part of that clip, you really go through a lot of extremely relevant and concerning things about conflict of interest that happened in the game industry, with various people basically choosing game awards, being in sexual relationships with various people, and really being in a position where it is utterly fair to call that into question, their objectivity and the value of that. And for me, like, as deep as I was into it back then, I legitimately, hand to God, put it on the Bible. I had no idea about half that stuff. And I encourage people to watch it, because I think it is a valid thing to have concerns about. The good thing I would say is, I know your position is they're still up to their old tricks. I don't know if I agree with you on that. I think that overall the games press has so much less power today, as YouTube stars have kind of taken over the role of advocate for the consumer and educating people and reviewing things, that I kind of feel in some ways it was a collision course of credibility of some of the major outlets versus just normie gamers. And I think if you look at the metrics of who gamers turn to nowadays, I think it's clear they went with a different model.
That's true. That's true. I
Yeah.
think I think if they could be up to their old tricks, they would be.
Yeah.
And I think the Sweet Baby Inc. thing is them trying to be up to their old tricks, but it's mostly failing because they just don't have the pull they had 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, how did you get involved in the original Gamergate in the first place, Brie?
So the big thing was Samantha Allen getting targeted, and a whole bunch of other women that I cared about getting doxxed and targeted. I know in that video, Dev, you brought up some mean things that Samantha said, and I'm aware of this part of her personality. But at the core of it, she was trying to advocate for more women to be hired in the video game industry. And I think it's legitimate for something like Giant Bomb. Like when they were part of Whiskey Media, I was one of their ultra subscribers. Like, I was a mega fan of Giant Bomb. I wrote tons of their wiki. I donated every year. It really bothered me, the fact that every single time a hiring position came up, it was just never a woman, right? I would have loved a woman on the Giant Bomb cast. That would have been really meaningful to me. And she was like bringing that hiring bias to attention. I think that's a fair thing to do. And, basically, a bunch of people ended up going after her and harassing her until she quit the industry. And then it happened to a whole bunch of other people. So I understand, like, you had a different experience, but for me, it genuinely was. My friends were getting harassed, and then I got harassed. There's a Polygon piece, I believe, from 2013 I wrote, that was the third most read story that year, according to my editor, called No Skin Thick Enough. And it's just kind of outlining the blowback that women game devs are constantly trying to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, it's not hard to believe that both of these things are true, right?
Yeah.
So there's definitely going to be instances um, where a woman in gaming gets harassed for no reason because people are being assholes and they're visible. Okay. It's not unbelievable because everyone gets harassed on the internet, right? It's not
Sure.
unbelievable this would happen. But at the same time, then you have women who actually did things wrong.
Yeah.
And then people started complaining like, hey, you've done this thing. And then they characterize that as harassment.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that is at least part of what happened to Zoe Quinn. I'm sure
Yeah.
there are people sending really bad things to her. Of course, there's always going to be someone on a sock puppet account telling her to kill herself. But looking into people and noticing that they've actually been corrupt and done bad things and treated people poorly, and then saying you're a bad person for doing this, and we don't want you in this community. That's not harassment.
I completely agree.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess that's sort of the problem that, we were kind of talking about with the tribalism is that, you have, you either have an issue or people are sort of attacked, and then, the defensive clause come out on both sides, and they kind of ignore the issues and they ignore what the other side's saying. Because like, yeah, so, obviously people shouldn't be harassed on the internet, but obviously so on the same token, you know, it seems completely horribly unethical if, all these different sites, work together secretly to craft a narrative to essentially defend someone for nepotistic reasons and then accuse everyone for being sexist if they don't, fall in line with this narrative.
Yep. I mean, because that did happen. We got the Game Journal Pros list. We know what they're saying behind the scenes. Someone leaked it to the internet. So that did actually happen. They were crafting that narrative during Gamergate. Yeah.
Interesting.
Maybe you guys were being sexist, though.
You think so? Well, see, Adam, I'm not sure you were around.
I'm waiting
Sitch,
for the fight to break out. I'm just sitting here like patiently waiting.
Sorry, it's not going to happen.
What do you want? Do you want Devin and I to start screaming at each other?
Look, it's like a hug box. It's like getting a little boring over here, but
I can listen. I can ask a question that will add some.
Look,
okay, do it.
I just look. I like look. I'm a storyteller. Conflict drives the story. Like nobody wants to sit around and see you guys like.
Yeah, but we've kind of settled this conflict. Like it's a 10-year-old conflict.
Well, let me open the Pandora's box here.
Supposedly someone came by and tore the bandage off. I was pitched Gamergate 2.0 here.
So
look, they ripped your stitches out.
Let me add some
conflict
conflict
here.
Some
drama if you want, but
no, let me add some conflict here. Okay. So you had a conversation recently, Bree, I listened to. I forget what the guy's name was, but you said that part of the reason that you don't like kind of the direction the internet progressives are going, which actually later in the conversation, I am interested to hear like how you define liberal, progressive, and leftist, but we'll keep that for later. Sure. Part of the reason you didn't like the direction the internet progressives are going currently, after like also because of all the Israel stuff, is that you feel like they've basically adopted Gamergate tactics.
Yeah.
And then I think when the host said, they asked you a question, something about like, well, is that really Gamergate tactics? You seem to be under the idea that before Gamergate, the left had never done anything like that.
I don't think that's what I said.
You said, can you give me an example of like the left engaged in that kind of behavior before Gamergate?
Well, I can tell you I flat out think. I think Gamergate was really a cultural flashpoint of these kinds of tactics becoming extremely mainstream. And then I think the Trump election happened in 2016, and I think they became extremely mainstream as like Steve Bannon brought that into kind of the alt-right playbook to get Trump elected. So I'm sure there are many examples of it happening before then.
What are the tactics we're talking about? I guess we should.
Sure. Doxing people, kind of sending mobs of people after them to scream at them over differences of opinion, death threats, rape threats, basically making the cost of speaking out so high, it's smarter to stay silent, having bomb threats called into your public speaking appearances, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I do recall, what wasn't it like Milo was going to speak? This kicked it off way back in like 2016. Milo was going to speak at university, and like they ended up burning a trailer that was on the campus down in their riot because they didn't want Milo there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did that
remember
happen?
this, right, Sitch?
Oh my
That
gosh.
did happen. Yeah.
God.
There was dramatic like pictures of just this.
And this
this
was before
structure
Milo
on
became as
fire.
controversial as he is now.
Yeah,
Jesus.
yeah. And I remember Faith Goldie's very far right, but she was going to speak at a university. They pulled they called in bomb threats and they pulled the fire alarm on her. Like this shit was happening all throughout, pretty much like 2015 to like 2020. If you had a right wing person speaking somewhere, somebody was trying to stop them from doing it, and it got to the point that it was fucking ridiculous.
He
Yeah.
was supposed to speak. Miles was supposed to speak at Berkeley. This was in 2017. There's an article from CNN that says Berkeley protest of Yiannopoulos caused $100,000 in damage.
Holy shit!
So
Yeah, man.
Jesus.
So I don't know. I guess
Well,
you know what
well,
rubbed me.
I guess really quick, Sitch. This is interesting because a lot of the stuff, Brianna, you don't seem to know about, right? This is kind of
Yeah.
all passed you by.
Yeah.
And I remember I did a video a couple months, no, maybe like a month ago, where basically a 90-year-old woman was canceled by some leftoids because she didn't know what pronouns to use because she's fucking 90, right?
Right.
And this is a story that went viral specifically on right-wing Twitter, and you hadn't seen the story until you watched my video, Brianna.
That's correct.
And so
Mhm.
what I'm kind of realizing is you have a lot of people who are in one political camp and they see a bunch of legitimately bad things happen to them, to their side. And they're like, what the fuck? But meanwhile, the other side doesn't see it. And that seems to be happening on both sides, where it is the echo chamber, it is the media bubble, it is like people, bad things are happening to both left-leaning people and right-leaning people, but each side is only seeing the part of the story that makes them the victim.
What are the bad
100%.
things that are happening to the left-leaning people?
Go
What
ahead,
are they?
Brianna. You have an example?
What are some bad things
They're
that are
losing
happening
their show on MSNBC.
Yeah, well, I think I'll just choose not to get involved with that. I do think there is still hiring bias that happens just across the board. I think you can look at the numbers and, you know,
I mean, you got people are being debanked, and you're comparing that to hiring bias.
You're talking about Kanye West being debanked. A bank can choose not to work with an anti-Semite. I think that's entirely fine.
There were people that were I think Fuentes was debanked. Kanye, I think, is lying about being debanked.
Yeah.
If you look into that story, but no, like I remember, I think it was around the time of Gamergate. Remember, it was in 2014. There's that guy. They did something. They landed some spacecraft on an asteroid or the moon or something. There was some space thing related. And the guy who was on the team that they interviewed, he was wearing like a shirt and it had a bunch of like kind of sexy women on the shirt.
Mhm.
And do you remember this? And like everyone tried to get this guy like fired. It was like this huge controversy. Like, how dare this guy wear a shirt with like attractive women on it in the workplace? That's so offensive to women everywhere. And it was like this huge controversy. And then it turned out that the person that made the shirt was actually like a personal friend of his who was a woman. And like, and it was just, I just remember it was like this huge thing that was going on in 2014. It's
Hey,
like around the same
How
time
about
as
Cliff
Gamergate.
Blazinski? Do you remember
Is
this? The
is
father
Nick
of Gears
Fuentes
of
the
War?
only one getting debanked?
Cliffy B?
Look,
Yeah.
hey, I hear tell of people getting debanked all the time. And look, I got no love for Nick Fuentes, but Nick Fuentes is the only one getting debanked. That doesn't seem correct.
I don't know who's other. I mean,
Yeah.
I recall hearing of some other people doing it.
Look, chat, if you can give us some people that have been debanked, that would be great. So I believe it's more than just Nick Fuentes. So
No, but what I was going to say is like Cliffy B. Here's a good example. There was a picture of him in his office with his mouse pad, and it was a mouse pad with like two big boobs under it for wrist support. And he got so much garbage from that.
Did he actually?
From SJW Twitter, and I think that's pretty silly because he's actually a really good guy if you know him. So.
And then
everyone's
also,
saying Josh Moon, who I've never heard of. They're saying
Josh Moon's
Dick,
Kiwi Farms guy.
Dick
Kiwi
Masterson
Farms.
was debanked.
there you go.
The truckers were debanked who did the trucker protests, which Dev, you're supposed to have a video on this. You should have a long list of people who've been debanked.
All the
right?
debanked people do.
So it's just like, it's not really fair to say, oh, I don't care. Look, I don't care if Nick Fuentes gets debanked either. But like, just the problem is when you've got milquetoast conservatives that are being pitched as Adolf Hitler and getting debanked. That's the
What is
problem.
an example of a quote unquote milk toast conservative that is getting debanked?
Well, I don't know. Maybe Joshua. I don't know. I don't
No,
follow up on
don't
these,
stop.
but my
I mean, he's
point,
not a
my
Nazi,
look,
but he
my
is
only
he
point
is a
was we're talking
hardcore
about.
troll.
Look, we're talking about getting debanked, which seems like could be catastrophic for your business versus some sketchy hiring practices.
I mean,
Right?
I don't think anyone should be able to be debanked for political reasons. That seems kind of insane to me.
I mean, people are saying Nigel Farage, that was in the UK. And the UK is kind of fucked. So
Yeah. I
But
mean,
anyway, look, my point is just like comparing getting debanked to like, are people on the left getting debanked? What is the equivalent of getting debanked on the left? I'm just, I'm
I
trying to
can't
do
think of
like,
one. Yeah.
the lady with the blindfold and the scales, Lady Justice. That's what they call her. I'm trying to think like debanked over here, and they didn't hire enough women. I'm going, okay. One seems a little heavier than the other, but
I feel like on your show we've talked about my belief that women do not get a fair shake in technology a
no,
lot. So I don't want to re go down that path again.
which
I don't
is
think
worse, getting debanked or not, women not getting a fair shake? And
I think just statistically, you can look at I think statistically there is an exponentially larger number of women that are mistreated than people that get debanked every year. Yeah, I would argue it's probably not about politics like left versus right as much as behavior, right? Like when I work with my particular bank, which is amalgamated from my pack, there are certain values they have, there are certain standards they have. I have to read that and I have to abide by them by the way I behave. This is just, I don't know. I think it feels like a mountain out of a molehill, but like Dev said, maybe I'm missing something.
right. No, I do think that there's not as many ramifications on the left, as many cultural ramifications on the left. Like I don't think left-wing business owners worry about getting debanked.
I mean, you're partially true. I think we've now seen the it's not debanking, but we've now seen the cultural ramifications come in post October 7th, right? Because a lot of
Yeah.
progressives have said a lot of weird shit about Israel and
And
Palestine.
did any of them get debanked?
No, but they are getting fired. They are getting
Yep.
expelled from universities. They are losing, positions of influence. So
yeah,
I mean,
but look how long,
it is moving in.
look how much
Look how long it
Claudine
took.
Gay had to go
Exactly.
through just to get fired when she should have been fired. And I think we even talked to you about this, Bree, that you agreed that she should have been fired just for her performance. And then
100%.
yet it took like all of that, controversy about her plagiarizing to get her out. And then
Yeah,
even
I
then
agree with you.
she just got like demoted to like her previous job. She still
Yeah,
works
she
at
didn't get
Harvard.
debanked. She still makes, look, she's the highest paid teacher at Harvard. She makes a
Right.
president's salary
I
to
I think
teach.
I feel if this is your concern, I feel very strongly that you're going to see for these fringe people out here, they're defending Hamas and cheerleading the Houthis, and now even this last week, y'all, we've seen them like actually standing for Hezbollah. Like I at least I vehemently disagree with the characterization of Hamas as freedom fighters. But like if you're talking Hezbollah, I mean, my God, these people have left any kind of reality that is true. And they are going to be facing professional consequences. And I don't think I'm the only person on the left that's woken up and has gone, holy crap, we've got an actual MAGA like on our side that is dangerous to democracy. We've got to, take action. So I think you're going to see a little bit less kumbaya, we're all one big team on the left. I think you're going to see some consequences.
I definitely hope so. And that, I mean, I agree that after, October and then especially after the hearings with the college presidents, there does seem to be some sort of acknowledgement forming on the mainstream and on the left to acknowledge that, maybe all those people we just kind of poo-pooed as woke college kids and didn't like ignored, maybe that was a bad idea. Maybe we should have been paying attention to those people.
Yeah.
But I guess I don't know if it's going to manifest into anything greater. I mean, I just saw, I was listening to, you and Connor yesterday, and I was looking at myself, Hassan's coverage of Israel is insane. And he is still he basically tweeted out that he is totally fine with Hamas existing as long as Israel exists. Essentially was like what I got from the tweet that he put out. And he was, blatantly supporting people, and he still does support a YouTuber who, said that what Hamas did was very based and good. And he doesn't really seem to have got any sort of repercussion. And he's, I think, the largest political streamer in the world, or at least the United States. And it's very scary to me that this is what like a lot of young kids are listening to.
He didn't get debanked, Sitch?
He did not get debanked. No.
Oh wow,
he's not getting debanked.
I mean, I think he
get
should
a
get
slap
debanked
on the
for being
wrist.
a communist, but that's a different story.
It seems like we're not talking about Sweet Baby anymore.
No,
we kind
but
of
it's fine.
gone off the okay, yeah.
Listen,
Well,
do you have more to say about Sweet Betty? Because that's why I came here. We haven't talked about the Kotaku article yet.
We haven't.
Okay.
And also there is some conspiratorial deep diving we can do about Sweet Baby.
Well, what's the Kotaku article, and then what's the conspiracy?
Oh, which one do you want to do first?
I guess let's start with Kotaku. Yeah.
Let me see if I can dig it up. So basically, where is it? Hold on.
You need some notes?
Sweet Baby Inc. doesn't do what some gamers think it does. That's the name of the article.
Yeah, that's the article. Yeah.
No one company is forcing diversity into all your favorite video games.
Here,
well, I guess I would agree.
Chat.
I haven't read this article, but I guess I would agree that no one company is forcing diversity into your favorite video games. But there definitely seems to be a very broad push in all media to kind of shove the leftist version of diversity into all media.
So when I was in Side Scrollers, I outlined that Craig pointed out on that appearance that they hadn't no one in the games press had talked about the Sweet Baby controversy, despite it going viral, etc., etc.
Right.
I said, listen, it's been a week. Give it maybe another week at the most, and they'll start talking about it. And that was just based off of the Gamergate experience. It's like, listen, right now they're trying to make it go away. It's not going away. So there's going to be articles, and where they're going to come to they're going to come to the defense of their friends. And you know what? In 5 days, this article came out. So it was I pretty much had it on the notes.
You called it.
Yeah. And as soon as this article came out, it was kind of like the dam broke, because then a bunch of other articles came out in the next few days. It wasn't nearly as coordinated as the Gamers Are Dead thing from 2014, but it did feel like they were all like someone was waiting for someone to kind of take the first plunge, and then as soon as they did, they all felt safe in putting their articles out, right? I mean, Sitch, you were around in Gamergate. You remember the Gamers Are Dead thing?
Of course. I mean, I wasn't making content back in those days, but like I was lurking, sure.
Yeah, wild times. So if you go over this article, let's see if I can scroll down a little bit. And
I wish I was making content, because I remember in 2014, okay, when Milo Yiannopoulos picked up the mantle of Gamergate, and since I was a person who had been interested in politics for most of my life, knew who Milo Yiannopoulos was, or knew who Breitbart News was, and said, okay, this should not be the mantle that gets, picking up the Gamergate movement. And I could see sort of the gears turning there, but sadly I didn't have a channel to raise alarm to that. But
I recall Total Biscuit actually saying that exact thing. He's like, listen,
good for him. Yeah.
He basically said, like, listen, it should be, more center lefty media coming out and saying something's wrong here, because you are ceding this entire cultural ground to the right. And that's what happened. Right.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of right-wing personalities came out of Gamergate.
Yep.
But basically, this article, can I find the specific passage? Hold on. Can I find Here, give me 30 seconds. I'll do a search.
Let's read some super chats, Sitch. We probably got a bunch of them here, and we only have a half hour left, right? Oh no,
yeah, I know there are at least
an hour and a half. Oh, okay. We got plenty of time.
There are some that are addressed to me or Brianna directly, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
We're going to talk to Rudyard at 7, right?
Yeah, we got an hour and a half. I messed up.
As I know.
blame
Daylight savings time is
savings,
messing with all our minds, yes.
I blamed it.
I know.
Daylight savings is the worst. Bree, I don't mean to get confrontational, but I do think like part of your red pilling is coming to the acknowledgement that there is like a double standard. There's an obvious double standard, right? Like the left does insane shit and gets slaps on the wrist because they have the cultural power, and the right does, milquetoast stuff and they get debanked.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Right. Look, see, this is where we say, look,
well, would you agree that, like, it seems like it doesn't seem like to me that I can really think of an example of it. too many examples where someone who's pushing kind of one of these leftist narratives, before the October stuff with Israel, was really getting in trouble in any sort of mainstream way for pushing some kind of like hyper woke stuff.
Is it a crime to have a really extremist position on like diversity?
No, but I'm saying that like people that were on the right that were pushing things that were, I'd say, were more milquetoast or at the same level of extreme were definitely getting like canceled and attacked
Yeah,
like
why is it a
violently by the
crime?
mainstream. Like Jordan Peterson, I don't really agree with the direction he's gone now, but when he first like came on the scene in 2016, 2017, he was saying like very milquetoast, centrist stuff, and he was just dragged
Vilified.
vilified by the mainstream media as like this horrible alt-right Nazi. It was just wild to me. And it just seems like, I mean, I would assume that you'd agree that the left definitely seems to have like a lot greater cultural power in terms of, the media attacking people in this way.
Don't know. It's really hard to argue against an anecdote, right? Because I kind of just have a different worldview. So I think all I can do is really just say my position is I think the right wing has a tremendous amount of cultural power too. Media is failing just up and down the board. Yeah, Dev, I think your channel is a really good example. Like you have a much larger audience than a lot of left-wing creators, and I think that's because you're really skillful at what you do. So
Oh, well, thanks.
I do think there is. I think, and not to say Dove is right wing because I don't think that's true, but I think there is a. I think there is a. I think that the right has a cultural force that maybe I'm giving them more credit for it than you are.
Well, let me kind of
I found
narrow
I
in.
found the I
Well,
found the
hold on,
quote if
hold
you
on,
want
hold
to.
on. Before
Okay, go ahead,
before
go
you
ahead.
Yeah,
move on. Okay, let me
sorry.
let me narrow in the claim here.
Sure.
So, like, yeah, it definitely seems like, the right definitely has cultural power in some areas. But like, you had like the Bud Light protests and things, backlash and all this stuff. But it definitely seems like, and I guess I'd be very surprised if you disagree, that the mainstream cultural forces have been completely dominated by the left for the last 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I would agree
So
with that. Yeah.
okay. So I guess that's what I'm referring to when I talk about like the cultural power of the left seems to be stronger than the right is in terms of these mainstream forces.
Deb, I'd be really curious about your opinion on this, but this is just the broadest 30,000 foot view of how I would see this. Like, it doesn't surprise me. Like, a lot of the communist types, and they're like, we need a revolution. We need a second civil war in this country. And I'm like, if I had to bet on the extreme right and the extreme left for a civil war in the United States, I don't think it's going to be the communists that win. Like the right is better at a lot of things. I'm in car culture. This is massively dominated by the right wing. I enjoy watching gun reviews, right? This is massively dominated by the right wing. So I think when it comes to art and comic book movies and video games, I think it's really true that there are a lot more leftists there. Just because I think that's what attracts people to those kinds of careers. And I think there's a real deficiency that right wingers tend to have in being attracted to that. So I think it's this base competence that we have in our interests, if that makes sense.
It definitely. Oh,
No, I'm thinking about it. I mean, Sitch, you know more about personalities and psychology than I do, I think, at this point. Where
hmm
basically, this probably tracks where like a more conservative person tends to have a less creative personality, generally speaking, and so they're not really drawn towards the arts, which means they're
Well, they're
not going
less
to be making
open
video games.
to new experiences, which I guess
Yeah,
correlates with creativity, but not
yeah,
necessarily directly. Yeah.
yeah. So they're less likely to be making video games or to be making comic books, or making movies. All these areas kind of have become more left-wing spaces, right?
hmm
That broadly tracks, I think. I think also is that once you have a certain population of one group, one political group in a space like that, they will start pushing out the people who have minority opinions. So even if there was a more conservative person who is interested in being creative, it's gonna be an uphill battle for him to get to do it, right? Like
hmm
Yeah.
a great example is like all the right leaning actors being pushed out of Hollywood. in the past 5 to 10 years, right? Shit like that, I think, is kind of what we're talking about here.
Well, I think what's going well, first of all, regarding the Civil War thing, I mean, if there was quote a Civil War and it was like a right versus left Civil War,
Well,
or at least let's say the socialist versus the MAGA crowd or whatever. I agree that I think the right would pretty easily win that because, we looked at Occupy Wall Street and considering, the socialists are very anti-hierarchy in the first place, I don't think they're going to be able to marshal any sort of fighting
so
force,
Occupy
against the
Wall
right.
Street versus
But
January 6th. Like who
Yeah.
wins?
Yeah.
It's obvious, right?
well,
Yeah.
actually January 6th was a one-day spontaneous event where Occupy Wall Street was people who were like out there for months and they couldn't even get a list of demands together. It was just like ludicrous.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so
but
it's interesting because like you have leftists. We're talking communists here. Communists they
right.
talk all about revolting against the government, but right wingers actually do it. Like they drive their trucks up to Parliament. They riot inside the Capitol. Like they actually do this
There
shit.
you
They don't just
go.
talk about it.
Well, leftists like to burn shit down, but
Yeah, but
putting
do
that
they
all
ever burn
aside.
down like did they ever burn down the Capitol? You know what
Well,
I mean?
no,
Like
they tried to. I mean, they did try to in Portland. They tried to burn down the federal courthouse, were unsuccessful because the police stopped
so-
them. But anyway, but regarding sort of what you were saying, Dev, I think what's important here is that you've had for a very, very long time, just not even because of like malicious intention, but just because I think people of different political persuasion. I do think that a lot of politics and a lot of people's political persuasions is rooted in their personality and their personality differences. And I think just because of that, you would get a situation where you get a lot more people on the left would be more attracted to doing things like making movies and making art and also, being a teacher at college. And a lot more right-wing people were more interested in like, starting a business, joining the military, sort of going in those directions. And it sort of led that these various institutions that kind of shift in the various directions they did over the years, even though obviously everyone is making fun of the military for being woke now, but that's a different story. But the problem, I guess, with that is that that's kind of fine-ish until you get sort of an extreme movement that kind of that exists on the left or the right that starts, growing inside a left or right wing dominated space because people tend to overlook the extremists on their side because they don't want to give ammunition to the bad guys on the other side. So it seems like that the left was overlooking the radical socialist element in all these college campuses and even in sort of, like in a lot of the woke sort of diversity ESG sort of crap that companies are now kind of inculcated with, they sort of overlook that until it's like almost too late. And now it's like harder to tear out this socialist parasite that's already rooted so deeply in all these institutions.
I feel
Sitch.
particularly qualified to like as a cautionary tale of how violently and aggressively unrewarding it is to criticize your own side.
Exactly.
Ever
Yeah.
since, like, look, my principles, my politics have not changed one damn bit since before October 7th. I don't think it's crazy to support terrorism and to support geostability, generally speaking. And my God, like the blowback I've gotten over Israel Palestine is just insane, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think you're correct that there are a lot of people that don't want to hear it. To be fair, though, Dev, do you think because you get a lot of blowback from right wingers that I see for criticism that strikes me as very mild. So, I mean, I think you get this to a certain extent as well.
Yeah, a lot of it's just going to be loyalty based, right? If
Yeah.
someone thinks that you're on their side, then you critique their side, they just get mad, right?
Yeah.
And like and Sitch, I know that you've seen this because I've talked to you about it and you've been involved in some of it over the years,
Mm-hmm.
Sitch, where it's like I'll post, a liberal take and people like lose their fucking minds in my comments. And I'm like, I've been saying for 10 years I'm a liberal. What did you expect? Like, what did you think that meant? And they thought I was dog whistling. They thought like
Right.
because back in like back in the day, like 2016, 2017, whatever it was, Nick Fuentes called himself a liberal. He wasn't, but that
Right.
was his gambit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And lots of people in that, like people who were not liberals in that era, called themselves liberals until they got established, and then they went mask off.
It
So
is
lots of people
interesting. It does seem like almost everyone's mask off nowadays. Like everyone knows like there's at this because you're right. Back in the day, Nick Fuentes and a lot of other people were like all and even people on the left were all pretending to be liberals. And it turns out like no, we're actually like white nationalists or we're actually communists. Like it seems like all the masks have kind of slipped by now.
Yeah,
Mm.
I definitely have a more right-leaning audience than I am, and they definitely get angry whenever I critique the
Sure.
right. That's
So
for
I
sure.
mean, so
Yeah.
do we to some extent. Half our audience criticizes us when we criticize not well, that's not fair. I'd say 30% of our audience gets mad when we criticize Trump or something. So it's fine. But listen, you
Yeah,
gotta
yeah.
just stay, gotta be
Well,
true.
Sitch, I did a video on this yesterday, and my video
Yeah.
on this yesterday explains this entire phenomenon.
The
However, it
competency
requires
crisis.
This is a really
yes.
good video. People should watch this.
Oh, what, the competency crisis?
Yeah, I really
Oh, well,
like
thank you.
this.
Thank you. Uh,
Okay.
listen, we have to talk about Mencius Moldbug though to really explain it.
Hey, I just looked up some
We have to bring up
headlines
Mencius
here.
Moldbug again.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I got the New York Post. J.P. Morgan Chase accused of purging accounts over conservative activists. I got Reuters. UK alleged probe bans banks blacklisting clients over political views. I've got Newsweek. Stop the troubling trend of politically motivated debanking.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I mean,
all bad.
obviously, look, these
So-
are reputable
Do you
institutions. Reuters, Newsweek, the New
So it
York
says-
Post. Look,
let's see.
somebody's talking about this.
It says according to this article that Enrico Tarrio, who I believe is one of the Proud Boys guys, right?
Yeah, I think he's in jail
Uh,
now, but yeah.
Yeah, Joe Biggs and Laura Loomer and Martina Markota discovered their accounts at Chase were closed within weeks of each other, without satisfactory explanations. I mean, how do you feel about that, Bree? Do you think that like if one of those people should have had their accounts closed?
I think send me the article. I will read about it, and we could talk about it next time I'm
Well,
on.
look, I want to
yeah.
I want to know what the left wing accounts aren't getting debanked. They aren't even being threatened with debanking. So, look, the right is illegal, and the left is like they get hand slaps. That's my only point. So,
Sure. I need to read about it. I mean, come on, y'all. If I read about it, I've given Dev 1,000,000 points today because I've read his stuff. I've done my homework. I've thought about it. It seems well thought out. He's got a good argument. If you've
Yeah.
got that here, I'll give it to you. I just don't know enough to say one way or the other because I haven't read it.
So as a general rule from my point of view, there are some instances where if you do something that's really bad socially, there's probably going to be some social consequence, but there's certain layers of society where there should not be a social consequence taking place on that layer, and I think your ability to use banks is one of those layers. It's like, okay, maybe someone shits on you on Twitter, maybe you get like a hate mob after you because you gave a really dumb take. Okay, it sucks, but it's just, it's free speech, right? But should you be debanked? Like, I think the answer to that is just blanket no. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think I agree with that completely.
So
what was
ActBlue is a payment processor it's here in Massachusetts, and it is essentially I don't want to say it's a monopoly, but it is nearly a monopoly as far as payment processing if you're donating money to Democratic candidates, right? And ActBlue has decided to not work with certain people after they've said things or done things that are just beyond the pale, that it doesn't represent their values, right? People calling for political violence, things like that. This is their identity. It's their brand. They're a democratic payment processor for campaigns. The exact same thing with Amalgamated, which is, my PAC's bank. They have certain standards, and they're going to kick out the crazies. I don't think that's, because you've got alternatives if you don't like that situation. But I don't think it's unreasonable for an institution to say, we've got a reputation here, and we do judge who we work with based on public behavior. That doesn't seem unusual to me.
Yeah,
right,
but would you
the
separate?
communists don't damage their reputation, and any conservative does. It's just a truth.
What is the truth? Could you say that again?
Working with communists, working with far left activists doesn't hurt their reputation. Working with people who support Palestine and are going to march around campuses yelling from the river to the sea is not going to hurt their reputation.
I don't know if that's true. I really don't. I think you're going to see consequences for that.
Well, I would love to see the consequences. I don't know what they are.
Yeah.
So I guess here maybe I can see what you're saying here, Adam. It's something like, the craziest people on the what? No, I agree with you, Adam.
This is so.
I agree with you. I want to reword it. Basically, the craziest people on the left do not seem to get socially punished the way that the craziest people on the right do. That's basically it. And that does seem to be just true.
Yes, factually correct.
I would probably go with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no downside to being crazy, a crazy leftist. There's no downside to being Hassan. There's no downside. There's no downside. There's no downside to questioning whether or not rapes took place on October 7th, which you have plenty of far left activists like openly doing that and suffering no downside whatsoever.
I completely agree.
It's Marxism, Adam. It's all just Marxism.
That's more Sitch's thing. Look,
but don't you think to an extent, I mean, I don't know. I think generally speaking, my march of the last 10 years has been, especially now that liberalism, small liberalism, and by liberalism, I mean like open debate, open expression of ideas, discussing things. Now that that seems to be more and more attacked all the way over the world, maybe the answer is more of us taking a breath and developing a thicker skin for hearing ideas and working with people that we don't agree with.
Look, I'm down with that. I'm down with that. I'm totally down with that. But I just think obviously society is structured unfairly. And if we don't point it out, then we can't get back to that structuring things fairly.
Well, Deb, this is where I think it comes back to Gamergate. And I'm speaking here more as like just a practical point of view. Like, I obviously have a different position personally about like our, typical white male straight guys being disrespected by the video game industry, right? I don't feel this is not a priority for me in the same way, but it's just objectively true that a lot of people out there do feel that way. And, the video game industry is in a really tough financial spot right now. And I think what makes more sense is I think the future is us learning to get along with each other and trying to be a little bit more open to each other's perspectives on things on the left and the right. Like, I think that a lot of the Gamergate stuff would not have blown up as much if there hadn't been this kind of callous disregard for some of the points that were being raised.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I can tell you why a lot of guys feel that way though, because I also feel that way, and I did 10 years ago. At some point, I am going to do probably for the anniversary. I'm going to do the big 10-year anniversary of Gamergate video, right? But the TLDR of it was that, and I think my experience is pretty universal. I'm pretty sure people who are in their 30s right now in the chat, they can confirm or deny, but I think it's a pretty universal experience. Growing up in the 90s, if you were a kid who played video games, you were bullied. It was not popular. It was not cool. It was not.
That.
Yeah. So, and basically the only people who were, let's say, leaders of the community that had your back were people who like wrote in Nintendo Power or something. And then they eventually became the games journalists. And I always go back to this one example where you have Jeff Keighley on Fox News defending the sex scenes in Mass Effect from conservatives who were basically coming for video games saying they were satanic and they were evil, they were poisoning kids' minds, they were too violent, etc., etc., etc. That was the narrative of what gaming was in the 90s and the 2000s, is that it was this kind of demonized hobby the same way that D&D was before it. And so if you're the kind of person who was bullied, you didn't get any play with girls, you were considered like a nerd or a loser by the wider culture, and the only people in your corner were the leaders of your subculture. To have those same leaders turn around and basically throw you under the bus, which is what happened in 2014, because we were all saying, hey, there's corruption here, what's going on? And the same people that we trusted said, no, you're wrong. Not like they came after the gamers for criticizing their friends. Like that I think everyone felt like it was an immense betrayal. And I think that's why so many people were so passionate about Gamergate, is because they grew up with being shit on by everyone because of being a gamer. And then the one person that always had their back, or the one group of people that always had their back, suddenly didn't have their back anymore.
Yeah.
And so everyone felt an immense amount of betrayal back in 2014.
I can understand that. I genuinely can. I think, for the other side, it was, women love video games the same way those guys do, right? And I think it just breaks your heart to see like the giant bomb thing, right? To so rarely see yourself in the gaming press. Like it broke my heart year after year when I would see the Game of the Year awards coming out. And just all of them always so male centric with the same predictable themes and games I loved and a lot of my friends loved just being overlooked or made fun of because people like that weren't in the room to offer a different point of view, right? So I don't know. I think something I have clarity on 10 years later is I can at least see the humanity in the people that you're talking about. And I think that is worth considering, right? So I hear you on that.
Yeah, that all makes sense too. Just to
I,
clarify for the chat, just real
uh,
quick. Yeah, so in my school year back when I was in school, there was exactly one girl student who played video games. No one else did. And the rest of us made fun of the guys that played video games. The rest of them made fun of the guys that played video games. So yeah, there was definitely I think it's because and I think that's actually a pretty common experience for people who are in my age range, where it's like girls didn't grow up, the ones that were around us didn't grow up playing video games. So to suddenly see them in video games, it definitely felt like that they were moving into a space that they had previously ridiculed us for enjoying. And so there was definitely a lot of defensiveness that was there for
Hmm.
sure.
Well, that definitely, I mean, that's definitely my experience as well. I think part of it is that, men and women do have, on average, different ways of interacting with each other. And essentially, you had women, and which is fine, but you had women entering a male space and not liking the male interaction, which is usually a lot more aggressive and brash and insulting towards each other. And that's just not the way that the general woman interaction is, which is fine, but that's kind of, I think, what happened. But on top of that, kind of in terms of like the white people being upset or the white male, gamer being upset, in the clip that we just watched, in that same talk, that woman talks about how she literally says that, there's too many white male gamers who are crying. She uses, and I'll see if I can actually find the slide here. She has like like a little picture of someone from The Simpsons crying about like not wanting to eat their vegetables or something. And that's how she casts like white male gamers because you're replacing their main character with someone who's not a white male. Oh, there it is. And like I don't know if this is intentional or just like living in a bubble. I think it's just living in a bubble. The problem isn't, white male gamers or white male nerds are not sitting around like, oh my God, how dare you have, not a white male protagonist. That's not like no one cares about that. It's either the replacing of characters that were pre-established and recasting them as a different gender or a different race, combined with the fact that there seems to be this attitude of, oh, well, we can't just have like a black person in this game. We have to have a black person in this game who's fighting against a system of racism against them that's being perpetuated by the status quo of evil white people. And that's really what's setting people off. It's not just, the race swap or the gender swap.
So I'm actually very happy that we're back at the main conversation because I did find that quote from the Kotaku article.
Okay, what
Okay.
was the quote you
So
wanted to
so here's
read?
the thing. This is why everyone got really mad at this article, because this exact same person that was in the clip, this is Kim Belair, the same person in the Kotaku article said, Sweet Baby is at its core a narrative development company. That means anything from script writing to narrative design to narrative direction to story reviews. One of the things we do offer is cultural consultations or authenticity consultations. For us, that generally means that we might be asked to look at a story if there's a character in it who is marginalized in a certain way, and the studio wants us to connect them with a consultant who can bring in authenticity. But the perspective is never that we're coming in and injecting diversity. For the most part, it's the reverse. It's that a company has created a character and they want to make that character more representative and more interesting. So the line that she puts forward in this article is that this is something that companies want, right? However, the clip that we watched was her saying, go to your marketing department and tell them what kind of a shit show you'll have if you don't hire us. And that's what happened, basically, is that this article came out, this clip went viral, and people realized that the two positions don't really mesh together.
I agree.
How does more representative just not mean more stereotypical?
I mean, that is the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a giant problem.
Yeah. It's like, how, so you have a black character. Make him more representative. Well, they're already black. What do? Like, you make him hood? Like, oh, wait, what the fuck?
Yeah, make him more stereotypical. Like, it's so offensive. It like throws in the garbage everything that we've worked for.
So I want to talk about something towards the end of this article, just to try bring a little bit of balance here, because I think this speaks to extremism. And, Sitch, I would love to hear you take this on directly. We're at the very end of this. And, full disclosure here, I think there is, a fair critique of this writer based on their Twitter statements might be that they're not like a balls and strikes straight down the middle, just gonna call it like I see it kind of person, right?
Just so the chat knows, what she said on Twitter was that you can't be racist against white people.
Okay, so for many reasons.
I'm sorry. This is the author of the article.
The author of the article, basically.
Yeah.
So
she went viral for that. Yeah.
She went and interviewed the devs at Sweet Baby Inc. and then basically got some quotes for them. And then the piece ends with her going back and saying, well, and going back to the Sweet Baby Inc. Discord and saying, here's what they do, A, B, and C. This has changed your opinion on anything. And being confronted with this new information, from the way she tells in the article, they completely blow past it. They disregard it, conflicts with what they want to believe. And, minds have not been changed here. And, I do want to say respectfully, this feels like a very, very familiar pattern, right? Like you're looking for a monster and you go and find one and nothing is going to change your mind. I think, Adam, this is why, like with the banking situation, I do think it's important to take time to read stuff, to make up your mind and to really think through it fairly. We all need the ability to change our mind like that.
No, I mean, I agree. I think it's pretty obvious that there is a cultural bias, that the left has a lot of, like, massive amounts of cultural power now. And I just see people on the left kind of denying it. Even in your situation, because you're kind of in a rare situation now where you're constantly being attacked for calling out the far left on Twitter. And look, I admire you for that.
Thank you.
I think we probably would agree that the modus operandi for the people coming at you is to categorize you as a right winger, so that they can characterize you. Yeah, so that they can characterize you as a right winger. They know that the right wing is culturally very powerless right now, and that you can eventually be debanked. Like, that's the strategy.
Yeah, no, I think that's really perceptive. They if they believe I'm a right winger, they can disregard.
They can do anything to you.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's well said.
This is the ontologically evil meme. You guys have seen that going around, right?
Well, I know of it. Yeah,
the older meme.
Yeah. But it's an older meme, but it still checks out. Yeah,
it still checks out.
Well, see, but basically, the idea is like, if you ever talk to somebody who's very, ideologically in one direction, they'll say, well, of course I'm going to do good things because good things are good, and you can do bad things to bad people because they're bad. Like, it's that sort of thing, right? Where it's like, I remember this is an example from the right wing. I was talking to a right winger about negotiating a deal on the whole border wall situation, right? And it's like, and apparently, like, there was some sort of, I don't, you guys know the story better than me, I'm sure, but there was a bit like a bipartisan bill that just died, and it had some funding for patrolling the border, right?
Yeah.
And the idea was that the Republicans were going to get their border funding and the Democrats were going to get something else in exchange. And I was talking to somebody on Twitter a few months ago who was very far right, and he said, well, why should we have to negotiate that? Because why should we negotiate? Because very clearly what the Democrats want is bad and what we want is good. So if we negotiate with bad people, then we will get more bad than we should have than if we just did our thing. And it's like, okay, I've seen left wingers say the exact same thing. Yeah. Where it's like, if your politics contains all of the good and your enemy's politics contains all of the bad, well, then there is no reason to ever negotiate with them. You might as well just kill them at that point.
Right. Well, and also that's double funny because the quote, the thing the left got that they wanted, even though Biden obviously wants to fix the border because I think it's going to destroy his ability to win the election if he doesn't, but was the funding for Ukraine, and I guess also Israel was supposed to be the thing the left wanted. And it was the right, the Republicans, that said that they weren't going to push, I think, for funding Ukraine anymore until they fix the border. So they were the ones asking for those things to be tied together. It wasn't the Democrats. So the person you're talking to is doubly uninformed. But
So can I take just a second and respond to one of your super chats for $400? Because I have a lot to say.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
J-Max 400.
Surrogate Father J-Mac, thank you so much for the $400. Let me read it and then you can respond, Brie.
Yeah. Bringing y'all the Woo Bucks this week.
There you go.
Yeah, well, hold on. And before you go, we have to address the Aiden Paladin stuff. Obviously, we've been wrongly accused.
Well, no. We need a raise. But we'll talk about that later. JMac for $400. Our actual ex-executive producer.
Yeah, exactly.
Says, for a lot of us nerds, gaming wasn't just a hobby. It was a sanctuary from our shitty lives. It was a way for us to take control, meet like-minded people, and keep us sane. Then people we viewed as outsiders come in and tell us that we were the ones that were unaccepting, and previous gaming outlets all of a sudden agreed. Yeah, I think that's I mean, I agree with that, and I think that's definitely what a lot of gamers felt like in 2014, and that's why so many people got very defensive and angry at the Gamergate stuff.
But J-Mac, I really want you to try hear me here. I feel the exact same way you do. I was a deeply, deeply isolated, lonely kid in Mississippi. Everyone around me was obsessed with church and football and who was dating who. And the only thing that kept me sane was video games. I'm not exaggerating when I say from like 5 years old until 15, I really just stayed in my room and hid from everyone and played video games. I find so much power in like characters like Terra and Celeste, like when they're trying to find themselves in Final Fantasy VI, that story matters to me. And I really hear what you're talking about. And that's why I hear what you're saying when you say you wanted those institutions to respect you. I hope you can see the same humanity in me when I say I wanted to feel like games saw me too, right? So the answer here isn't you're right and I'm wrong, or I'm wrong and you're right. It's that like this is a big industry. We can make a lot of different games that speak to different people. Yeah, Dev, you have a really good video on Stellar Blade. I love porny games with a hot female protagonist. It's my guilty pleasure. You know, they can make games like that. And if you don't like it, you don't have to play it. What I object to in the marketplace is I think that we have a problem when so few people that don't fit a very narrow box make it into senior leadership or get to decide what kind of games get made. I think it has consequences like that just filter through the whole industry and make games bad. And I'm not even talking about diversity. I'm talking about like gameplay choices, right? I think all of us would look at the video game industry right now and say, it's not working. It's putting out garbage product and they are meeting like the financial fate that they deserve in many cases. So I hope you can see, like, I love games exactly as much as you do.
Isn't your position kind of the pro Gamergate side though? It seems like the Gamergate people were saying that these video games are problematic because they create negative stereotypes of women. So they're saying, look, these games need to be removed from the marketplace.
My focus during Gamergate was on harassment, and it was about hiring policy in the industry. That was Anita Sarkeesian's bag, and you know, I did not strongly agree with that back then, and I don't strongly agree with it now.
Right, but so like because what Jay is talking about it is, you know, I don't think a lot of people would have had that much of a problem in 2014, and later if the idea was, hey, let's have more female protagonists or representation. When it was,
you're wrong. You're flat out wrong.
Well, well, wait. The problem was like because when Anita, you know, bring up her videos, you know, before Gamergate and the stuff after Gamergate, it was all it wasn't just like we need more women. It was like we need more women because men are horrible sexists and white people are racist. Like it was always
And these
baked
games
into,
need to go.
yeah, like it was always kind of like combined. And I think that was what a lot of people were reacting to.
When I remember when Far Cry 2 came out, which is one of my very favorite games. Far Cry 2 is probably the best in the entire series.
Better than
It's not
3?
graphically.
Oh
Oh,
my
3
God.
is great and Blood Dragon is great, but 2 was really a breakthrough. And I remember talking on the IGN boards about how frustrated I was that you couldn't be, they didn't have a woman protagonist in this game because you
Mhm.
got to choose. And I got BTFO'd on the IGN board for that. That was just a constant for talking about, like, I would like to have this option in this
Right.
game. So I don't agree with you there.
Well,
I mean,
okay.
yeah,
If you don't agree with that, but I would assume you'd agree that there definitely would have been significant, like it would have been smart and probably more moral if the position of people on the left at the time were like, hey, let's be more inclusive, as opposed to, hey, let's be more inclusive and fuck you, whitey, right?
that's I can say the reason I focused on what I did was because of that reason.
Oh, okay. But so do you
Yeah,
think, so even in 2014, you felt like there was too much animosity towards white people and men in those spaces?
I thought that Anita Sarkeesian was ultimately an academic, and I understood the points of view she was making in the video. I thought they were well thought out.
Mhm.
I privately thought it was not a way that was going to bring about positive change to the industry because critiquing the output of the industry does not really get to the core of the problem. To me, the problem is the hiring discrimination that hires within the industry. So that's why I focused on that.
Yeah, but like with Anita, to me, it's not just like the output that I would imagine to have a difference is like she believes in a very radical critical theory based version of feminism in terms of the ideology that she's pushing. And that ideology kind of informs her whole worldview. And unfortunately, I think that's the ideology that's crept into a lot of these diversity spaces.
Yeah.
So I think that's the problem is that you have to combat this idea, this toxic ideology that's kind of using this idea of we need more women and minorities in these spaces as kind of like a mask to sneak in its other horrible shit. Like,
Yeah.
this woman that wrote this article that we're talking about, the Kotaku article for Sweet Baby, Allison Mercante, Freudian slip. I mean, the fact that she wrote on Twitter recently that you can't be racist against white people and still has a
Ooh,
job at Kotaku, to me is insane. Like
Don't worry,
that's to
Kentucky's
me
dying
that's
anyway.
one of the
Don't worry about
most
that.
that's the most well, that's true. But to me, that's like when people say you can't be racist against white people, that's really only used to justify racism against white people. And it's just an insane thing that I can't imagine the right wing equivalent, kind of going back to what you were saying, Adam. I can't imagine the right wing equivalent of that flying, and not that person not getting canceled.
of course. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
To be fair, she is
Yeah.
receiving more blowback for this sort of nonsense than the crazier people 10 years ago did. So
Oh
things are
yeah.
shifting. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I've said this multiple times on the show. The winds are shifting. I think wokeness is definitely going on the decline instead of on the upward swing. I think a lot of this is because of Israel, and people are like, "Holy shit, these people are crazy." And also, people are just kind of like sick of it because it's
Yeah.
very draining. It's been like
Okay,
10 years.
guys,
Yeah. Well, so,
guys. What's
okay, go ahead.
where are we at? What's the red pill meter on Wu now? Are we at like 65%, 75%? What do you, Sitch? What's your take?
I'm gonna give 50%. Okay.
50-50. Oh wow.
50-50.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's a coin
A
toss.
full,
It's not even
a full,
better than
Yes.
a full
random.
centrist. Yeah. People.
Anyway,
Okay.
I'm gonna give her 65%. I think, look, this whole
God.
October 7th thing has kind of woken her up a bit. Ironically woken her up.
There you go.
When we get
So,
to the
you wanna
part of
weigh in,
the
Dev?
election where we're criticizing Trump nonstop, I think you'll find that number go down a bit.
when you're criticizing Trump, well, look, criticizing Trump is fine. I don't that doesn't really weigh in on the on the red pill / woke meter.
Well, I guess what do you mean by
Yeah.
red pill, Adam? Because everyone's going to
Yeah.
interpret that a little differently. But
Well, she's waking up to the fact that there's this double standard, this cultural imbalance. Like a lot of people on the left won't even come close to admitting that the left has cultural power. They want to act like, oh, look, we're so subjugated by everyone. The right controls everything. When it's just it's a fictitious read of reality. Like they think the media is all right wing. They believe in the duopoly, the you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
anyway,
of course.
Dev.
It's all capitalist. That's why.
Dev, where are you at?
Well,
give Brianna a rating.
A rating on how
a red pill rating.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. I like 25%.
Yeah,
There's a long way to go.
Thank you.
There's a long way to go.
Oh my God. Okay. So he's saying you're pretty much completely in the dark, which that's not a compliment. I don't know why you're thanking him, but
well, no. Listen, if you're 100% red pilled, you're also pretty retarded. So don't worry.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think everyone in this conversation is using a completely different definition of red pill.
Different definition of red pill.
Right.
Look, I'm not talking about the, you go out and get your 15 different thoughts.
You're not talking about the Andrew Tate red pill.
I'm not talking about the Andrew Tate version of red
line
pill.
and you take their money. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I was talking more like the Jonathan Haidt type of red pill, like understanding that there are these two movies that people see and kind of being able to see both movies accurately. Which when you first started coming on, Brianna, I'd say you really didn't have any understanding of the conservative perspective at all. But I feel like you have kind of opened up to that. Conservatives are not just evil people.
I've never thought conservatives are just evil people.
Right. Well, I conceptualize progressives and conservatives as both necessary parts of a system. Like the progressives are basically the offense of society. They're out there looking for opportunities that might be missed, and conservatives are worried about the gains in society that we've already achieved. They don't want to lose those gains. So I do think, like any sports team, you need an effective offense and defense. A lot of people, they don't see it that way. They have this Manichaean view of the world where conservatives and progressives are at war and one will annihilate the other. And I don't think that's a healthy way to look at it. So when I think of somebody that's red-pilled, I think of somebody kind of in the Jonathan Haidt sense. They understand that both of these factions serve a valuable purpose in society, and they're really not trying to annihilate the other side.
So
they're trying to use the other side effectively. So
since we only have 45 minutes left, if there's anything else to talk about this, we can talk about it. But I do know that you have super chats for us.
Yeah, let's go.
I know someone in the chat wants me to talk about the blood money. I mean, that's just a theory.
Well, no, I guess look, the Aiden Paladin thing. Like Aiden Paladin is like Aiden Paladin is coming out as different. Aiden Paladin is coming out as strong. She thinks like we're on the Brianna Wu. Like you're writing us monthly checks or something to come out and shill for the Democratic Party.
How does she know? How does she know?
Look, you're going to throw us under the bus. Look, Brianna is she's lying right now. That's not true.
No, listen. The real reason we brought Brianna on and Dev on at the same time is because we want to renegotiate the amount that she pays us. Because I don't think it's enough for the service.
Everybody, look, everybody's going to think Aiden is not going to know that you're being sarcastic right now. This is going to get us in bigger trouble.
Sitch, I tell you what, you come over to the Casa de Wu, you can look at one of my Porsches.
Oh, look at this. Keys, I get a car. Okay, I'm on board. I'm on board.
Maybe not my Cayman, because that's my track toy. That's my really expensive one.
So how far up Biden's ass does Sitch have to get to actually get the Porsche? That's what I want to know.
Yes, that's true.
Like look, you're shilling for the Democratic Party, right? You want to get Biden. How do you do you care if Biden gets substituted out for somebody else? Like, what is your take on that?
Make my job a lot easier.
Right.
Look, I'm ultimately a hired gun. I do what I'm asked to do. So if Biden's our nominee, I'll go with that. I'm not going to lie and tell you his age is not a problem, because it is. And it's really disturbing to see people try to pretend it's not.
Yeah, I think he's going to get subbed out, but
I think it's unlikely. But
Okay, we'll see. I mean, when Trump is polling double digits ahead of him and like he nosedives after the first debate, well,
I don't. It depends when the first. It could be too late depending on the timeline.
Yeah, if the first debate goes off, it's definitely too late. But we'll see
Right.
what happens after the convention.
So people in the chat,
yeah, go ahead, Tom.
yeah, people in the chat are asking what the story is. So I think the TLDR is that the organization you were working with, Brianna, was paying some streamers, but it was all above board. People thought it wasn't, basically.
Yep.
And like I know that Wick got some flack for it, but Wick said, no, I've told everyone this is public that I'm getting paid for this.
Yeah.
And for some reason, Aiden spun that into Adam and Sitch are getting paid.
So wait, okay, because I'll be honest,
I'm getting paid sometimes.
I don't even know the whole pay. So who was getting paid, and what were people getting paid for? What is this even about?
It's about a group called Progressive Victory.
Mm-hmm.
That basically, when I was working with Progressive Victory, there was basically there's a problem on the left that everyone spends so much time chasing their tails that there's a real need for leadership and for people to come together and to kind of decide what stories are important and to kind of bring everyone together to chase like one car down the street rather than 500 different cars. So basically people were paid a fee to basically sit on a leadership committee and talk about the major stories for the week. And we would sit there and figure out what was important, what the good, strong messaging would be. And we would look at clips that people had put out that we thought resonated with the core values of the organization, and we would help promote them. So, 100% above board, very normal. I hate to break it to y'all, this is happening on Twitch. TikTok, a trillion times worse. This is politics.
There were Twitch politics streamers doing this with you, basically?
Yeah.
Okay. And like everyone knew it was like a big secret thing. It was always public?
I didn't tell anyone if they needed to say if they were doing it or not. It's their choice to make how they run their own careers and what they want to say.
But the accusation.
I know that. Well, hold on, because I know that Wick made it public.
Yeah.
Wick made it public. I don't know anybody else who was involved with it though, so I don't know.
Yeah.
The accusation.
Yeah.
Just real quick, the accusation with us that Aiden was making was that our content is too pro Biden, and therefore she suspects that we're getting paid by you. Would you say that our content? Would you pay us for our content, Brianna? Would you say?
I think at the end of the day, you guys do a good show and you're interested in democracy. So I never reached out to you because I don't know if there's enough political alignment there, but I would
oh,
consider.
Yes, this is great. Keep talking.
No. I just for what Progressive Victory was doing. But yeah, as my career goes on and I'm doing other things, I don't think it's impossible we would work together at some point. But my instinct is probably you guys would say no. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, you obviously don't know Sitch very well because Sitch would definitely say yes.
Listen. Anyone can pay me to say anything. Okay.
As long as.
Do you really feel that way?
No, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
Well, look, as long as it was
Sitch
disclosed,
not beating the Jew allegations.
It's true. No, Adam is just saying that because I said if someone to pay me $100,000 to wear a dress on stream, I'd do it, and Adam refused. But
here's the thing. I feel really strongly about this. I would never, ever, ever ask someone to say something publicly that they don't believe in. What I try to do is bring people together that share common beliefs. And I would hope everyone on the stream today believes in democracy, believes in the rule of law, and wants the United States to continue no matter who wins, right?
Well, except for Dev, because he's Canadian, so he doesn't count.
Yeah, but Dev
Dev
is a liberal in the traditional sense, right?
Sure.
I try to bring people together on values and to accomplish big goals together. And I think one of the things I'm good at is working with people when we don't agree on everything. Something I would note I was not good at 10 years ago. So, I'm always looking to move in a direction that gets things done with people, especially on public policy.
Right.
No, and I agree that that's the way it normally works. You don't approach somebody and tell them to change their entire belief system. You approach somebody who has the belief system that you already want, and you say, look, let me just make it easier for you to get that belief system out there. Look,
Yeah,
and
100%.
yeah. But as soon as money is involved, everybody's always, they're going to say, like, you're a shill. You don't really believe that. You're just doing it to get paid. I mean, that's standard pushback to that system anyway. So
the accusation of you paying us, it was like this. It was from Aiden and Spoon watching our conversation with Carl about liberalism, our third conversation I think we've had about him with him about liberalism, because we're both still in favor of liberalism, I guess. And Aiden and Spoon are not. They're kind of on the Mencius Moldbug. My understanding, I don't want to mischaracterize their positions. My
They're
understanding is they're kind of
monarchists.
on
Yeah, they're monarchists.
the Mencius Moldbug monarchist train. And I don't know where Aiden is, but Spoon is kind of in this like mirror position of the communist, where basically anyone who's not a monarchist is like a far left winger, which is stupid and insane. And I actually on
Well,
Twitter we had an interaction where I challenged him. I said, "Can you name one position? You're accusing me of getting a payoff here because you're saying that since I started doing YouTube, I've like moved so much further to the left. Can you like give me one example of one position that I've moved further to the left on since starting YouTube?" And he failed to do anything, regarding any of that. So I mean, the whole thing is just obviously goofy nonsense. It's just like a funny meme, but
well, the thing is,
oh, go ahead, Devon. I apologize.
but just real quick, the whole thing with those two is that they are a blend of libertarianism and monarchism, which sounds retarded to Americans, but there is something to it. We're basically like, if the government is private property, then being a monarchy is like being a property owner. Like being a monarchist is like being a monarch. Sorry, is like being a property owner. So they kind of blend in. They kind of blend through
it's
capitalism.
Final Fantasy VII. We were just talking about it.
Yeah, it's
Shinra
Final
is
Fantasy VII,
literally the system that they're talking about. So,
yeah.
yes.
So, but basically, all libertarians, whether they're left libertarians or right libertarians, they kind of have the same problem where they believe that any any facts that come from, let's say, a normal source or they come from this system, they are the product of power, not the product of truth. Right. So like, why should I believe the government on anything? Because the government has its own agenda. It's not, it does have a moral direction, right? It wants certain things. And so anything that comes from the government, we should not believe. That's what all stripes libertarians tend to say about this sort of thing. So when they look at I watched a larger part of that stream, and they also accused me of it, but like it was only Spoon, and it was like 10% of the accusation was Dev, 90% of it was you two, of taking the Brianna Wu bucks, but basically the idea was because Brianna Wu works for the Democratic Party, then like anyone who's promoting her, and also because we know that some money has changed hands, anyone who's promoting her must also be getting paid. And if they say no, well, of course they would lie about it because they are the products of power, right?
Right.
It is the power before truth calculation that all libertarians fall to, whether they're left.
Yeah, but I said that she was paying us repeatedly.
Well,
I beat the system.
You beat the system by just admitting it when it wasn't happening.
Speaking of Mr. Ubercross, our lawyer for $20, he said, "I have your last monthly check held in escrow, but Brianna won't let me release it due to your lack of advocating for communism. I've tried negotiating, but her team won't budge."
Wow.
I do love communism. Clip
it.
If I could
Clip
say
it.
something for just a quick
sure.
second. Yeah, I'm looking at chat coming by, and I want to hit something really head on, and I want to tell you why I feel this way. There's not a lot that makes me mad, but it does make me angry when people question my integrity and, say things like, oh, you're only saying that because you're trying to win the audience over, or you don't really believe that, or progressives are losing power. Yeah, I really take a lot of pride in trying to express how I feel, like thoughtfully and with honesty. And from my point of view, I need you to understand, like, I grew up queer in Mississippi, where just being myself was really, really hard. My family disowned me when I came out. So being myself and expressing myself authentically is something that's really fucking important to me. And there's nobody that tells me what to say. I don't pretend to have opinions that I don't have. What I do try to be is thoughtful. And as I have grown as a person and have kind of dealt emotionally with some of the things that have happened to me, I can kind of look at things with more distance and with a little bit more sophistication. So, like, if my views are changing and evolving as time marches on, I think this is a good quality. And I think the fact that I'm at DEF CON 5 every fucking day on my Twitter with these communist nut jobs that are pro-terrorist, I really hope that's strong evidence for my integrity. Now, some of you want to see me in the absolute worst light possible, and I can't do anything about that. But I can say you're fucking wrong about me.
Mm-hmm. I think especially regarding the Israel stuff, like people are saying this with like Hunter Avalon too, when he kind of like switched teams. Now, obviously, you haven't done that to that extent, but people were like accusing him of being a grifter. I
Mhm.
just, I don't. It seems like almost everyone loses money and audience when they start attacking their own side or switching teams. Almost always recently, so I don't really understand the accusation from that perspective
Yeah.
that someone is like, oh well, something's becoming like I guess actually no, there's someone who is gained a lot from that is what's the guy's name? That was the guy Hinkle who was like very right wing and now he's a
Yep.
communist. So I guess actually that did work out for
Jackson, yeah.
Hinken. Yeah, so never mind. I take it back. I guess Jackson just succeeded there. But I think you have to go from one extreme to the other. I think the problem is when people go from like a more extreme to a more centrist position that they just kind of piss off everyone.
Yeah, I think that's what's
It's
happening.
that seems to not be like the winning financial strategy. But
So with 30 minutes, I know that there's some decent questions in the super chat. Should we do them?
Yeah, let's do
sure.
them.
Do you have those decent
Look at
questions,
you,
Dev? Or are you waiting for
Dev,
me to ask?
actually being mindful of time and super chats.
Yeah,
It's impressive.
I know what's going on. So
My
Did you
parents
see
did not give me money to found my game studio. That is not true. It is
that's
not
Artemis
true.
Fowl. That's Artemis Fowl.
did
He might be mixing up old lore because
Yes, he
I know
is.
that we had dug up at one point during Gamergate that Zoe Quinn actually came from some money. Maybe he's mixing up old lore.
Okay. Artemis Fowl was asking if your parents gave you money to start your game development company, and you're saying no, that didn't
No.
happen. Okay.
How do you have so many Porsches? Is that like DNC money?
No. The reality of how I got my Porsches is I grew up in Mississippi and I know a lot about repairing trashed cars and I buy trashed Porsches. And my way of spending a weekend, because so much of my job is talking, is shutting the fuck up and going down to my garage and repairing them. And I've turned like extremely trashed Porsches into extremely valuable Porsches by spending all day sandblasting the wheels and getting them powder coated or redoing the electrical system or redoing the suspension. That's my hobby. And
Wow.
you know,
You know
I think it's a
electrical. I'm
cool
impressed.
hobby.
I mean, yeah, I've heard of a guy who worked at a I don't know if it was Porsche, but it was some sort of supercar. Some sort of company making supercars. He worked in a factory, and basically over the course of 10 years, he would just bring home one part and then eventually build a whole car. Like, well, there you
Nice.
go.
That's
Yeah, that's it.
awesome.
Yeah. And actually, real quick, Shoe on Head in the chat says an easy way to spot an actual grifter is if they literally never piss off their own audience. That is
True.
100,000% true.
Very
so
true.
this time last year, I lost like 5,000 subs for a take that a lot of people didn't like. And it temporarily was like, it was trending on Twitter for a weekend. And it's like, you
Mhm.
know what? Yes. So like, I don't
What
understand.
was the take? Let's see if we can get another 5,000.
No.
Tell me privately.
Sure.
Sure. JMac, our circuit
Yeah.
father, for another $60. Thank you so much. Jay says, kind of regarding the previous thing, but the issue where these people were saying that games needed to change and that the old games, the ones we loved, were flawed on a moral level and we were flawed for liking them, plus tons of respect to you, Woo, for having these discussions. I'm fine with Woo not being red-pilled, but at least engaging with these ideas. We don't all have to agree on everything, just agree on our love for games.
Yeah, I agree.
Look at that.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And also, J Mac for $10 says, Woo, as a lover of cars, I want to show you pictures of my G-Pass garage so bad. I feel like you would really appreciate them.
Send it to me on Twitter. We will totally geek out on cars. I
There you go.
100% promise
I don't
you.
even know what a G-Pass garage even is.
I'm thinking about putting a PCC M Plus in my 986 Boxster, which is it'll be a fun project.
Right.
I know y'all don't know what that is, but it's cool.
Nope.
Trust me.
Andrew Clark for 2 hours says, so glad the sponsor could join today. Thank you. I don't know what this is in relation to. Val Van Gogh gave us $20. He says, does Brianna Wu believe that out of control public violence and cannibalism in Haiti can be fixed by raising the minimum wage?
No.
Okay. I don't even know. Okay. There you
I
go.
know Haiti's kind of a shit show right now.
I mean, I know what's going on in Haiti. I don't know what to do with you, but
I support like the intervention with the Houthis. I think Obama was very good with Operation Infinite Resolve. I think we were good at dealing with the Somali pirates. Like, I want to see the United States take a more interventionist role in addressing issues like that. So I don't think the minimum wage would solve that.
They said Haiti, not
but fair enough.
But yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't know what. It's to me, it's kind of baffling that Biden has been seemingly so weak with the Houthis. So I think they should
He's
just
bombing the hell out of them now.
Okay,
So,
good.
I
That's
love it.
good.
Yeah.
Sella for $50. Thank you, Sella. Says, I remember during the ME3 controversy, the usual suspects like Movie Blob said fans should shut up because calling for changing the ending was, quote, interfering in the creative process. Now we have Sweet Baby Inc. doing just that through extortion, no less.
Wow.
There you go.
There you go.
Hitting.
That cringe and Ronaldo Ramirez said that in relation to Alan Wake, they said they race swapped the woman that you were talking about, that she was white in the first game. They made her black in the second game.
Is that true? I don't know.
I don't know that either.
What's the name of the character? I guess I'll look it up.
I never played any of the Alan Wake games, so. Mithram 6 for 500 Kazarks. Thank you. Says bringing people in to give you opinion on how a product is perceived has been done for decades using focus groups and test audiences. That's completely different from bringing in ideologues to critique your product from a very specific ideological angle. I think that's a good point.
I think that's fair. And that's a way it's different than like bringing in military experts to evaluate like fact check authenticity.
Stuff. Yeah. Evil Bookman for 3 months says, never forget Alec Holwick. How do you say that guy's name?
Alec? Yeah.
Holwick?
Yeah, this is your bag if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, because you probably saw me talk about the conspiracy on Side Scrollers. Yeah. I mean, there's probably something to it, but I don't know. I haven't done the full research. So here, TLDR, here's what we absolutely know for a fact. All right. Zoe Quinn accused Alec Holowaka of raping her back in 2012. And she puts this accusation out in 2018 or 2019. 3 days later, the guy kills himself.
He got fired first, didn't he, from his job?
Yes. Well, he owned the company, but nonetheless, the company still cut ties with him, even though he was the owner. They're like, listen, get the fuck out. We're not working with you. He retained ownership, but no one would work with him. And the board basically fired him, and he decided to just acquiesce and leave. And then he killed himself after 3 days. The current conspiracy that I think might have some legs, we just don't know. We just don't know enough yet, is that basically the company that provided the funding for Sweet Baby Inc. to exist is a company also in Canada called Weird Ghosts. Weird Ghosts is run by Alec Holowaka's sister, and she is handing out a ton of money to a whole bunch of these narrative companies in Canada, like Sweet Baby Inc. And she seems to be getting this money out of nowhere because I dug up some stuff and they don't seem to be like a really rich family or anything. So it's like, where's the money coming from? And the only conclusion is that she actually mentions in a PDF back in 2021 where she's talking about like her like the design for her business, that she inherited Alec Holowaka's IPs and his company. And the one big hit that they had was the indie game Night in the Woods, which has like millions of sales under its belt. So people are thinking that, Zoe Quinn bullies this guy to suicide. His sister inherits his company and then starts using the money for Zoe Quinn's friends in the industry, which is just like, holy shit. Like that sounds like a dramatic tale right there. But the narrative is there's still a few holes in that theory that has to be filled in.
Well, I think it's probably impossible for it to be like intentionally played out in some way. Like, oh, I knew that if I, made an accusation, this person would commit suicide. And then their sister would get all their money. Like that's too many,
Yeah.
ifs, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's a conspiracy here. They're like, they planned this out. Like, how do we get this guy's
Right.
money? Well, I'll accuse him. I'll accuse him of rape, and then he'll kill himself, and then you inherit the money, then you give it to me. Like, no, I don't think that's what happened. But it's the fact that it's all kind of the same group, and they all kind of have the same political
Sure.
ideology, and this guy just basically got run over by it. That
Now,
it does leave a bad taste in your mouth.
right. Right. So I
So
don't think it's a
can I
conspiracy. Well,
ask a
let me just finish
factual?
though.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I don't think it's a conspiracy, but what I do think is pretty insipid is that I can't like to me it's totally disgusting that if someone's commits suicide and their sister takes a bunch of money they inherit from them and they basically start giving it to like the cause that kind of got them to commit suicide. That seems kind of fucked up,
Yeah,
obviously, right?
it's yeah, bad taste in your mouth. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Dev, I wanted to ask. So with the suicide situation, I genuinely cannot remember this. Weren't there some complications there? Like he was already suffering from extreme depression and suicidal ideation and stuff like that, or am I just misremembering that because it was a decade
No,
ago?
that's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
he had a lot of other problems as well, but he was kind of managing them. But
Yeah.
it seems like the false accusation pushed him over the edge. And by the way, we know now that it was false because DMs leaked later that showed that it was false. So Zoe Quinn just made this shit up to be
Was
relevant
it
again.
so wait, because I didn't know about that. We like the DMs that leaked, was it showing that was intentionally false from her? Like what did they say? Do you remember?
I don't think the DM said like, "Hey, I'm gonna accuse this guy to bump my career up." It was more of like one of those things where a person cries rape and then you see the conversations and like they consented in the conversation. You know what I mean? It's that sort of thing.
Okay, so well, okay. I mean it's hard to tell with Zoe because she seems I don't know, she seems like a very dishonest person.
She
So
does, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's very, all over the place. But Mark Twain's Revenge, thank you for the 50 gifted memberships. Thank you so much.
Woo! Look at that.
Very generous. RBGH fan for $20. Thank you. Says Brianna, is it okay if a progressive is debanked for using a phrase like from the river to the sea, if the bank deems it is anti-Semitic?
I mean, I think they can set their own policies. That seems kind of anti-free speech. So, that would be my objection to it. Like, what's the right-wing equivalent? Like saying the South will rise again, I suppose. I think that would be an overreach. I think if you're out there like strongly supporting terrorism, like Hezbollah, I think that's kind of a materially different situation, but I wouldn't support it in that case.
Nokra123 for 50 pounds. Thank you. Says I haven't given you guys money for in a while. Over 200 words. Okay, I can't figure out anything clever to ask. Well, thank you for the 50 pounds. Or sorry, 50 euros. I don't mean to insult you by calling you a
Yeah,
proto-American.
thanks. That's very generous.
Joe the Make for $5 says, quote, gamers are dead. Gamers don't have to be your audience. End quote. Nope, no disrespect whatsoever. Come the F on. Yeah, I mean, well, would you agree? Because that whole framing of it, like gamers are dead, like, isn't that like what got every, gamer upset? Is this like attack on
Yes,
gamers?
it was.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. From my point of view, that is when Gamergate turned from let's dig up these people's professional connections to try to find more corruption. That's when it turned into a we fucking hate these people because now they're actually attacking us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Brianna Wu's accountant for $20 says, "Hey Bri, I lost your number, so I'm getting a hold of you here. When I'm writing the check to Sitch and Adam, do I address it to both of them, or are they on separate checks?"
Well, I think Adam takes all the money and embezzles
that's
it
right.
Through his car
Wow.
wash.
That's right.
So
It's been a secret. Brown's been paying us for 10
God.
years.
Yes. I've got to answer this because it's in the chat 9 million times. Will Brianna play Stellar Blade? Hell yes. I cannot wait for this game to come out. I will play the hell out of it. Of course.
There you go. Starblade's the one with the hot chick people were mad about.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
and it looks great too.
It looks awesome. From my point of view, it's like Metal Gear Revengeance with like a cool woman protagonist. Like, sign me up. That sounds amazing.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Yeah, it's funny because like I feel like most women like to see hot women be like do things in movies and video games. like I don't this whole weird contingency from like someone like the very far left that like we need to make all the women unattractive in the games. Just that's just so detached from what like the average audience member, including women, want. I
The
don't want
first
that.
thing I do, and I don't think I'm alone when I make a character in a character creator, is I try to make the most beautiful thing I can, right? It's,
There you go.
I have no issue with it. I mean, I do. And Dev, you're probably going to disagree with me here, but when it's so over sexualized that I can't emotionally connect with it, or feels really pandering, that's when I kind of just roll my eyes and I'm like, whatever, dude. But I like a little sex appeal in my games. I enjoy that, especially if it's well done.
Um, oh, thanks so much. Dwight Baldwin for $20 says, does Woo still support boycotting Hogwarts Legacy? If so, why?
No, I said on record that I supported this in the beginning because I obviously don't like J.K. Rowling, but the
Hmm.
boycott failed. And if you're serious about political change, you owe yourself the intellectual honesty to ask if what you are doing is working. And it's very clear that going after J.K. Rowling, someone I vehemently disagree with, is not making things better for trans people. So the way I feel right now is, she can have her say on Twitter. I don't agree with it, and I'm going to focus my efforts on public policy.
Adam Unfriended for $100. Thank you so much. Says the Sweet Baby Inc. saga isn't the beginning of Gamergate 2.0, but rather a start of healing, and the rise of Renaissance for gaming could be a slow or fast process depending on a few factors. Um, Oku's consultation for race, sex, sexuality is basically illegal and is illegal based on the Civil Rights Act. I don't know if it's. I'd have to see this. What are the specific consultations that they were doing that you think were illegal? But maybe. So someone sent me a picture of some old tweets you had, Bree, that were like about your parents giving you money to start an animation business. Is that what the person you think was referring to?
That's probably what they were conflating with, but that was
Hmm.
when I was, what, 18? So that was a
It
long
says
time
when you
ago.
were 20 in the tweet.
Oh, well.
Was it a lot of money? How much money did they give you? Like $50? Because my
No,
parents would do
it
stuff
was a
like that.
lot of
They'd be
money.
like,
Small
"Here's
loan of
It was a lot of
50,
$1 million.
money.
here's
It
50
was
bucks to start your animation studio."
it was a
I'd be
few
like,
hundred
"Mom,
thousand
I think
dollars. Yeah,
a
Mm.
few $1,000. Is that what you said?"
few
Hundred
hundred
thousand.
thousand dollars.
Okay, $200,000. Wow. Okay.
Nice.
It was a good experience. I
And
learned a
this
lot
was
about
before, is this
leadership.
before you came
Mm.
out as trans?
It was a really long time ago.
Okay. Let's see. JMac for $10 says Wu plays Torrent confirms. No, listen. JMac likes Torrent. JMac is like a big Torrent simp, so
I don't
Really?
know this game.
from World of Warcraft,
World of Warcraft, the bull people in World of
the
Warcraft.
cow people, yeah.
Oh,
But there you go. Okay, let me see if there's any other questions here to read. A lot of statements. Thank you for all the statements. Um,
So I know Artemis Fowl sent one, but I think he's being spicy with it
uh,
since he's a friend of mine.
Artemis Fowl. Oh, really? You know him?
Yes.
For $10 says Dev, Wu, Adam, and Sitch, I'm thinking of creating a religion that tells banks that it is against the religion to be charged interest on loans I take out, so we don't have to pay interest. Thoughts? Well, I mean, I think if you started that religion, the banks would not give you any money, right? Is it, what is that? How's that
True.
spicy?
Yeah.
What were you thinking of, Dev, that makes that spicy?
No, it was a different super chat. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Artemis is like, make sure this gets make sure Brianna sees this. And I'm like, okay, sure.
What
So
is it?
this is for $5 like an hour ago.
Yeah.
And he asked, are there any conspiracy theories or stories that involve Brianna Wu that she found surprising or wrong?
oh my God. Yeah, I mean, yeah, many. I think the biggest one, Dev, and I've really appreciated you pointing this out, is that I sent myself harassment. I logged into a different account on Steam, with the is GSX founder Brianna Wu a terrible person, when I was in fact trying to like limit all the personal attacks and doxing and mean comments to one thread. So I could have some part of our stream page that was talking about the new levels and the new combat engine, the new lighting, and the new character models, and all this stuff that my team had worked on for a year and a half. That is a conspiracy theory about me that I wish would die.
I do
Are
remember a
you?
lot of them back in the day. I
Yeah.
remember I remember like people saying that you harassed yourself, or people saying that like you had sock puppet accounts that you were using to harass yourself. I think the reason why is because somebody else actually got caught doing that, and they just
Mhm.
painted like all anti-Gamergate with that brush, you know?
Yeah.
Which is what happens because I mean all of Pro Gamergate got painted with the harassment brush too. So this happened. This is how it
Yeah.
was. Um,
I don't.
I know that.
I hate to go back to the money thing, but look, you got $300,000 from your folks to start an animation studio, and you seem like that's a bad thing that your people are giving you a hard time for.
I don't think it's a bad thing.
Well, you kind of played it down
It
like
was
it wasn't a big
200,000.
deal. She said a few 100,000, which
Well, look at
I
the
would
tweet.
think
It says
is
200,000 on the tweet.
Yeah.
Oh, it does? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I just as a 20-year-old, like my parents didn't give me $200,000 when I turned 20 years old. That is like a lot of money,
It was a really
especially
big gift. Yeah.
yeah, especially if it was a long time ago when $200,000 was more money. So
Yeah.
it seemed like you kind of denied it at first that you got money, and then
I think it's really insulting that they helped me with my game studio when that's just not true. That was my husband and I. One of the ways we funded our game studio is, Frank had his grandmother died, and the deal that we came to is if we basically took apart her house and refurbished it, we could live there for a few years rent free, and save that money and spend it towards the staff, which was a hell of a lot of work. There were so many months I sat there and ate red beans and rice, just 3 meals a day for months on end to pay my team. So, my
so
family, who
I
is
remember that tweet.
exceptionally cruel to me, giving them credit for anything that's happened, my professional life in the last 10 years, it pisses me off. It's hitting on some trauma. I think y'all probably
okay, look,
are a little
I get it.
oblivious
Look,
to. Yeah.
I want to make it clear. So obviously your the dig that people are making is they want to make it sound like, oh, it was just handed to you, you didn't do anything on your
No.
own, and you're the conflict over it is you worked very hard, very diligently, and the money
Yeah.
was just not really that. I mean, it
It
was
was an
part of it.
earlier part of my life. I mean, my
Right.
parents were basically trying to bribe me to be a thing they could control, which is, it's a
Right.
whole, I don't even want to get into it on this
Sure.
stream.
No. I wanted to
Yeah.
make it clear because it just seemed like
Sure.
it didn't. I sense that you seemed to come clean so easily that it seemed there was a contradiction there, but I think we worked it out.
It's kind of a painful thing to talk about, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do remember the people talking about the red beans and rice thing. That was like a tweet that went around. That was a meme for a little bit. Oh man, what else?
Sodos for $20
Wait,
says,
oh,
Brianna, I
okay.
get why you don't like Toriyama's female characters, but have you ever read Dr. Slump? Ariel or Aurelie was actually super inspirational to Mario and video games. Also, unfortunate you missed poor Connor's aneurysm last night.
Well, I had a meeting very late. Why are all these super chats for me? Talk to Dev. He's way
No
more
one cares.
interested.
No one's
Yeah.
asking Dev any questions.
Dev is way more interesting. Yes.
That's
Okay.
fine. That's fine.
Here's one directed at Dev, though I kind of already addressed it. Sodoge, again, for $20 says, Dev is horrible at storytelling. No one knew the curator page existed until a Sweet Baby Inc. employee tried to get the page taken down and get the guy's entire Steam account deleted. That's what started it, Streisand style. There you go.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I know people were talking about it before, but that was the flashpoint. Yeah.
Sodos for another $2 says, Dev is as bad as Putin at storytelling. There you go. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well, he did go full Putin in the beginning there, didn't he?
Yes.
We'd have like 25 minutes if Dev could have just give us the cliff notes, right?
Yes.
It was fun though.
Sounds280 for $5 says something Dev said about Saint Row being made too safe goes into the problems with Spider-Man 2. Miles' dad is a chief, yet NYPD are erased in the sequel. Really? I never played it. What do they mean? They don't have, he's not Oh wait, wasn't it like a made up police force? Like he was still a police officer, right? It was just like a made up police force. That wasn't the NYPD specifically or something. I don't know.
I
I
don't know
don't
what
know
I don't know,
chat.
man. Sorry.
I never played Spider-Man
Um,
2.
okay. Artemis is now dredging up the old lore.
Oh
Is that the
There you
same?
no.
go.
Is that the same house that we did a few of her interviews from? That brings up a lot of old memories that are fuzzy. And I know what he's getting at. He's being coy. So there was a conspiracy theory about you back during Gamergate, Brianna Wu, that you didn't actually leave your house when you said you did. And people were pulling out infographics of you doing various interviews in the mainstream media, and you were like in the same room
Yep.
in each one. So they're like, this is when she was supposed to have left. How is this possible? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, so the truth is, Frank and I were nearly broke back in those days. So we did spend the first few nights in a hotel, and I showed those receipts, I believe, to Stephen Totillo, who wrote a piece about this for Kotaku, if you're looking for verification. And then we very generously had friends that let us come stay at their home, crash there at night. During the day, I felt that was safe. I was probably not going to be murdered at my house during the day. All my dev equipment was there, and I popped over there to do interviews because someone's couch is not really a great place to do that. So that's the truth of what happened.
So basically, like you came home to do the interview, then you went out again. Basically,
That's right.
you wanted to stay at home as
Little as
little as
possible.
possible.
Correct.
Yep, yep. Because I mean, I did see you get doxxed. I have seen those tweets from back in the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, all right, I understand. Okay, yeah, because I remember he actually linked me an in like a one of those like schizo collages where it's like a bunch of pictures and like compare all these, and it's like yeah, you on October 14th, 2014, and then you October 27th, 2014. These are both like you in your house,
Yeah.
but you said you were gone during those times, right? But if that's the explanation,
People actually use those diagrams in my house to plan mass shootings of me and my family and my dogs, and would send that to me with things like, "We're going to sneak in through here. We're going to execute Crash in this room, and if you're asleep here, we're going to shoot you with this pistol." Like there was some really sick shit that went on back then. It really fucked me up, to be honest.
mm,
Gross.
Yeah,
So I know we only have
harsh.
5 minutes left, but I meant to ask this and we never got back to it. And someone asked too in the chat. One Eye Crow says, "Can you ask Brianna to explain what she means when she says woke?" Because I would like, what do
That's
you?
like a 5 minute question.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Well, that's kind
yeah.
of
I can
because
answer it
like
in 20 seconds.
I
Go
was
for it,
kind of
Dev.
curious as to well, no, because I care what Bree says. I don't know. I don't care what you say, Dad, but
Yeah, I
about what
know.
woke means. But like, because like, what is like woke? What is liberal? What is progressive? What is leftist? Like, what are all these terms? Because they all mean different things to everyone. So,
I've talked too much, Dev. You can get this one.
well, no, but it's asking
We
you.
want to know what you think, though. Yeah.
I don't have the
We
same
don't care what
problem.
Dev thinks.
I don't
Yeah.
have the same problem with woke that I think a lot of people do. I have a problem with this stuff being done badly in a way that is pandering, in a way that, if you want to put it in game development terms, breaks immersion. The story I told earlier about Boyfriend Dungeon, that is wokeness in a way that really breaks my immersion and takes me out of the game because it feels so insincere. But like generally speaking, I do want more black people in games. I want more queer people in games. I just want it to be done well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Is political correctness, would that be like a good analogy for it? Like when the game has to cater to a certain type of political correctness and
Yeah, when
it
it's done out of
suffers.
fear. Yeah,
Yeah, the quality suffers from it.
yeah.
Yeah.
What are your motivations? Do you have a good story? Do you have a good character? Or are you doing it to go through a checklist and to make sure an audience isn't going to yell at you? Those are very
Right.
different outcomes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So
So,
are we
do
done?
you want to know my definition then?
No, come on, Dev. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Artemis right at the end. To be clear, I don't care about any of Brianna Wu's backstory. I have tons of people who want to ask her but are too scared to ask her directly. I've actually heard that about you, yeah. I've heard from people that are like, I want to know what she thinks about, XYZ. Like, I want to know what Brianna Wu thinks about certain stories that don't seem to add up from the pro Gamergate side, but I'm too scared to ask her. I've
I'm
heard that
a
a few
fairly
times.
friendly person. You can reach out to me or Dev, you can be on stream sometime. We'll just talk through it. happy to do it.
Okay, yeah. I think a lot of the fear comes from maybe just an impression of you from 10 years ago, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a long time ago. So okay, let's wrap up. Let's do it. What is your definition of woke? You got 10 seconds.
Okay. Wokeism is the ethics and processes of socialism expanded beyond class struggle to include race struggle, gender struggle, sexual struggle, and any other near infinite number of marginalized groups as defined by intersectionality.
That's pretty close to Sitch's
That's a great,
definition.
that's a great
Yeah.
definition. I love
Yep.
it.
I gave it last year and it went viral, so I was like, this is pretty good. I think this is it. So I just keep it now.
There you go.
My definition is being awake to systemic injustice.
Yeah, I think that's true.
That's why.
I think
All
it
right,
needs a
this
little
was
bit
a
more.
great stream. Yeah.
Yeah.
Made y'all a
Sitch.
lot of money with these super chats.
You did. Well, you both did.
I know Aiden
And we'll
Paladin
be
is probably going to
expecting
be
equal
talking
amount.
about
Oh my
From
God.
you, from the
Well,
whoop.
I saw-
Aiden Paladin's going to be talking about it later
I saw
today.
Spoon in the I saw Spoon in the chat a bit, and he's like, you know that people watch you and people are telling me what's going on in here, right? And I'm like, yeah, okay, dude.
That I know that was part of what makes it funny. Yeah, I'm aware. Yes.
All right.
I want to give a shout out to Shu, who I saw was in the chat
Yeah,
today.
go ahead.
One of the really nice things that I really appreciate with Shu is, and I hope she doesn't mind me saying this, is we reached out to each other in DMs a while back, and I was like, I'm so sorry for the way I treated you during Gamergate. And she's like, no, I got this and this wrong. And I'm like, can we just start over? And she's like, yes. And that was really meaningful to me. So I know that the left has some real problems with her, but I think she's a very kind person.
So
Nice.
So do you want to shout out anything else? Do you have any socials or anything you?
You can find me around. I want to say I really enjoyed your new video, Dev. And I hope people will go out there and view that. Do you want to tell people about it super quickly?
What, the competency crisis?
Yeah.
The TLDR of it basically is that there's been enough diversity hiring happening that complex systems are starting to have some serious problems because there's not enough merit left in the system to do the job it has to do. And I basically go into the right-wing view of why that is the case. The left-wing view is pretty simple. It blames late-stage capitalism. The right-wing view is, I think, more developed. So that's what I go into.
It's really well thought through. It goes through like the history of communism and the differences in Lenin and Stalin. It's a very typical Dev video. So I appreciated it.
All right, so we're going to finish up the super chats in the next stream. We were going to talk to What If Alt Hist for a bit. So
sounds good.
We're going to say goodbye. So
let me put I'm going to put what I hope is the link.
I pinned it. I pinned it
nice.
in the chat. Yeah, guess what's next? It's at the top. It's pinned. You can click on that link and head on over there. But
are you going to raid yourself?
Can we even do that?
I'm sure you can. Yeah, I think.
Wait, you can, can't you?
Yeah,
we should do that.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know how to do that.
You gotta do it real quick before he turns it off the stream, though. You gotta do it right now.
Well, we'll say goodbye to you guys, and I'll send Rudyard the link because we're already a little late. So
sounds good.
Thanks
for having me on.
Take care, Brianna. Thanks for staying in so long. Yeah.
Bye.
Later.
Bye. Take care, Dev.
See ya.
Okay.
And you guys can hear, and I'll send Rudyard the link while you try to.
I don't know even how to
raid
do
ourselves.
that thingy. I always forget how to do that thing.
How to do what thing?
The raid thing. It's in some like weird setting, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know.
We're not going to do it. Just click the link in the pinned comment.
If you don't want to come, if you don't want to come for the most exciting show on the internet ever created, ever conceived of.
Yeah, listen, we're going to be talking about all sorts of crazy things. What If Alt Hist just dropped the video a few days ago. Very interesting to me. That's all about how the CIA knows about psychics and is keeping and is, fucking with us. Right?
Yes.
I want to get to the bottom of that.
Sitch, who doesn't believe in any conspiracy theory ever, believes in psychics.
Believes specifically that the CIA is keeping all the psychic knowledge to themselves, those bastards. Okay. So there you go. That's true.
All right. Bye-bye.